everyone, and welcome to the opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis, where it's 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Matthew Rocchio, Randy Karraker. Great to have you with us on this April Fool's Day. We got no jokes for you today. We aren't doing anything to you guys, so trust us. We really aren't. I'm honest about this. We aren't going to do anything goofy.
Rock, have we installed the sarcasm button yet?
We aren't doing anything.
Nothing at all. Randy, I will say I'm a little on edge this morning just because I don't know if you have any tricks up your sleeve.
Honestly, I was walking in today and I thought, oh, it's April Fool's Day. But then I decided I started too late to think about something.
Oh, okay.
So, and I'm not that creative.
Well, and also we all had to endure this weekend.
Kind of an April Fool's joke in and of itself.
Yeah, I think that might have been enough. So I think that's fair enough, Randy.
Yeah. Cards take 1 of 4 from the Doyers. St. Louis City SC falling to Real Salt Lake 3-1. You've got your Blues. Is that the worst effort of the year?
Oh.
Against the Sharks,
yes.
4-0?
I was going to say the Columbus loss is up there, but I think that one, especially against the Sharks. And I get that you're out of the race, essentially, and destiny is not in your own hands. It's up to other teams. But that performance was terrible, and I thought it was right by the fans to boo them at the end there.
And the Battlehawks lost also. So we did not have a great weekend.
It was not a great weekend, Randy. It was a frustrating weekend for everything here in St. Louis sports.
It was. So let's bring you up to date. First of all, we'll tell you that we are going to talk to Chris Kerber later on in the show. We're also going to talk to Blues president Chris Zimmerman. Great weekend. That was one of the good things over at Centene for the NCAA hockey tournament. Sold out crowds, Michigan advancing. We're going to talk to Zim about that and the fact that the Frozen Four finals are here next year. We're also going to ask Chris Zimmerman if the Blues are going to sign Jimmy Snuggerud today.
You're going to put him on the spot with
why
that
not?
one. How about we start with that, too? We just come out hot and heavy.
Yeah, Jimmy Snuggerud available, Zim. What, are you going to sign him today?
Is that happening now?
No. Are you going to
Tomorrow?
do that? Yeah, we'll do that.
What time specifically?
So how about Lance Lynn on Saturday night?
All right, if we want to go with that one. First win of the season for the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
Sunshine, lollipops, and green.
We're together. And as I texted you guys on Saturday night, and there's no doubt about it now, it's been made abundantly clear, Fat Lance is way better than Skinny Lance.
At this point, he might need to give over his diet and training plan to the rest of the Cardinals pitchers, because then you have Riley O'Brien, who's out with a flexor tendon strain in his right arm, and that causes a kerfuffle in the bullpen. So maybe there is something there, Randy, to just a little bit more weight could actually help you. What is your saying again?
You can't pull fat.
Exactly, Randy.
Yeah. Last night, if you didn't pay attention, congratulations. The Cardinals lost to the Doyers by a score of 5-4. Cardinals actually led this game 4-1 heading into the bottom of the 8th, and then the bottom of the 8th happened.
And then you have John King. So there's a lot of different steps leading up to this. I mentioned that Riley O'Brien, he was put on the injured list with a flexor tendon strain to start the day. And then you bring up John King, which a lot of people, and rightfully so, because I questioned it at first. I texted as well, and I said, why not bring up Nick Robertson in this situation? Then I realized you're down 2 lefties, which is something that you have there with Libby and Romero, because you used them in the earlier prior games. So then you have to bring...
A prior game?
Maybe more than one, Randy. Okay. Multiple games. And I'm about to get to that other part here in a second with my big issue with the weekend. And so then you have to bring up John King, because this is a Dodgers lefty-heavy lineup. So I do get that. But in that situation, you put John King in a high-leverage spot there, which he obviously was not going to be able to handle because he's had a rough spring. I think, Randy, my biggest issue this weekend was with the bullpen usage earlier in this series. I'm going to go back to Friday. When you're down 5-0, who do you have coming out of the pen in that game?
Giovanni Gallegos?
Giovanni Gallegos, who should be your fireman, that somebody you could have used on Sunday. So you use him on Friday. You also use Jojo Romero on Friday. And then you use them on Saturday when you have the extra innings affair that we talked about. Then you can't use them on Sunday. That's my big issue of the weekend, Randy, is why did you use Giovanni Gallegos on Friday? When you're down 5-0, and you have Ryan Fernandez right there, who you didn't use the entire series.
Right, you aren't going to win that game, so why not use a guy so that you can get a look at him and find out about him? That's a very legitimate question. So here's the way the 8th inning unfolded last night. Palante was pitching for the Cardinals. He got Freddie Freeman to ground out. Then Teoscar Hernandez hits another home run. He owns the Cardinals so far this year. And then Chris Taylor walked, and then they bring in John King to face the lefty Max Muncy. And Muncy goes yard. He knew it when he hit it. A 2-run homer, 5-4 Doyers, and then Outman struck out, Luck struck out, but the damage was done. 5-4 at that point, and the Cardinals could not recover, and they lost by a score of 5-4. You mentioned that Yoho Romero couldn't pitch 3 days in a row. And I am somebody who is old enough to remember the 1982 World Championship Cardinals. Different era, I will grant you that. Because, Brooke, at that time of our lives, we didn't have the knowledge about nutrition and about sleep and about medical science and how 3 days in a row could affect an arm. And people they just said, you know what?
Because your arm falls off.
Yeah, oh yeah. 2 days in a row. That's when it all started. 2 days in a row. But you know what? The Cardinals did something weird that year. They had a pitcher named Jim Kaat, K-A-A-T. Ultimately,
I think he was good.
He's a Hall of Famer now. Jim Kaat, he was 43 for the Cardinals in 1982. He did not. He pitched in the opener for the Cardinals, then took a couple days off. And then he pitched April 10th and 11th. And then the Cardinals went on a 12-game winning streak, and he got to sit for a while. He might have had a little arm soreness. But then he pitches April 25th, 26th, and April 30th. But it really got fun later in the season. In August, let me give you the end of July first. He pitches July 28th, 29th, 30th. The Cardinals are off on July 31st, and he pitches August 1st. 4 out of 5 games, pitched 3 in a row. Then that was July. In August, he pitches August 19th. August 20th, August 21st, and August 22nd. This is 43-year-old lefty. 43-year-old lefty, Jim Kaat. Then he pitches September 30th, October 2nd, and October 3rd, 3 out of 4 days. If 43-year-old Jim Kaat can pitch 4 days in a row, he pitched both ends of a doubleheader in that season against the Padres. If 43-year-old Jim Kaat can do that, why can't Yoho Romero go a 3rd day in a row?
So at what point did his arm fall off, Randy? Because I assume that that's what happens at this point.
It does not, Brooke. It's amazing. So Jim Kaat, actually, that was his second to last season in Major League Baseball. His last year, 1983, he pitched in 24 games with a 3.89 ERA and then decided, you know what, at the age of 44, I've got my World Series championship under Whitey Herzog. I'm just going to ride off into the sunset, and became a really good broadcaster and pitching coach and executive.
Well, that worked out well. And here's the thing, though. In this day and age, is there any pitcher that they allow to do that?
No, but maybe they should. Maybe they should start thinking about having pitchers available on multiple days rather than this ridiculous max velocity crap. Why not have a guy that knows how to pitch and get people out? And all due respect to Yoho Romero, maybe he can. But these guys just have no ability whatsoever to be pitchers. They're throwers, but they aren't pitchers, and it's hurting the game. It's hurting the quality of the game. And if you could do that, if you could find a couple of pitchers that could do that, could pitch 3 out of 4. Bruce Sutter said to be his most effective, he wanted to pitch 4 out of 7 every 7 days. Mm-hmm. Do that. Get somebody to do that.
I'm with you on
Ryan
that.
Helsley can't do that. Ryan Helsley pitches every, 4 out of 14?
But he was going to be available in the 9th inning, Randy.
Brooke,
didn't you see that?
Here's a bulletin for you. Mm-hmm. He became available in the 8th when they brought John King into the game, when they knew there wasn't going to be a bottom of the 9th.
Exactly. So that's my other question is, would you have worked backwards in this situation? So, it's a high leverage spot. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about yesterday's game. Why not bring in Ryan Helsley then in the 8th?
The one thing is, Max Muncy would have hit a home run off of Helsley too, because of the right-hander. But so bad left-hander, good right-hander. Might as well try it. Why not? Because then you can use Ryan Fernandez or whomever. Nick Robertson? Fernandez is the guy that's here. I get the two Boston guys mixed up all the time. But pitch Fernandez. Anyway, the Cardinals take on the Padres tonight.
Oh, and there's a familiar face on the other
Mike
side.
Shilton, the opposing dugout.
Shilty.
Yeah, that's going to be fun, isn't it? That'll be good to see him for the club. Cardinals are going to pitch Bob Gibson against...
Don't say that, Randy.
Okay. Gibby. They're going to pitch Gibby.
There's your one April Fool's joke of the day. There it is. Because as soon as you say Gibby, I know that was his nickname, but here in St. Louis, I don't think you can call Gibson Gibby.
Well, Matt Waldron's going to pitch for the Padres tonight. Real Salt Lake knocking off St. Louis City SC, the first loss of the season for City. Despite an early Indy goal in the 3rd minute, City falls apart in the last 25 minutes. Christian Arango puts together a second-half hat trick in soccer with goals in the 70th, 84th, and the 91st minutes. Not great for St. Louis City SC. They did kind of fall apart there. It was disappointing.
Arango also kind of punched Totland early in the game, and nothing came of that. And then he went on to put a hattie on you. That's not ideal.
No, maybe
But
you should punch back.
You got the good refs back.
Aren't we playing with the St. Louis attitude?
You're supposed to. We're Midwestern farmers out here.
We are,
and I think they punch back.
We do. We punch back. The Sharks over the Blues 4-0. A horrific effort. Blues were 5 points out of the last playoff spot. Could have gotten within 3 with a victory.
That was awful.
I don't use the word embarrassing for a team. That was embarrassing. All of those players, not all of them, but the players who were involved should just be totally. I can't imagine giving that little effort in my job. It was just awful.
It was. It was the worst loss of the season since when? I know you asked it earlier, but what do you think it was?
Well, I think overall it's the worst effort of the season. I don't think it's the worst loss. I still think the Nashville game is the worst loss, but this is clearly the worst effort of the season. When you had a chance to make the playoffs, maybe they already have their tee times. I can only
That's
assume
what it felt
that.
like.
Yeah, I can only assume that they've got their tee times set for the day that many teams would play game number 83. But this team just doesn't want it, and there's a problem in that room. And Jeremy Rutherford had a great piece at The Athletic, asked what's wrong of Shen and of Drew Bannister. I have no idea what's wrong, but they need changes in that room.
At this point, you need to do an overhaul.
Yeah.
After seeing especially that effort, and I said earlier, the fans, they deserved to boo the Blues. I'm glad that they did that, honestly. I know that sometimes some people have some controversies that you shouldn't do that. Maybe you should just not boo at them. I think it was the right thing for the fans to do, because could you imagine going to that game, and that is what you witness, when technically you still could be in the hunt for a playoff spot? And that's what the fans show up to see.
Yeah, and there are players. Ryan O'Reilly was one of these. There are players over the years who've said, these people don't make as much money as us, and they're using their hard-earned money to come in and be entertained by us. All St. Louis asks for is effort. And if you aren't going to give effort, if you aren't even going to try, then you do deserve to be booed. If I'm not giving effort in this job, if somebody wants to come in and boo, that's fine. Or if they want to send in a text that says boo, that's fine.
Don't open that door, Randy.
Well, no. But even though the execution might not be great, at least I'm trying, right? They aren't even trying.
Can you imagine if we just had 3 listeners in the back room, and every time Randy or somebody said something, we shot to them, and it was either a clapping or a booing sound from them.
Man.
And I feel like after you made a joke, came back to them
Yeah. So Blues and Oilers tonight, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock pregame. Listen at your own peril here on 101 ESPN.
Listen at your own peril. You don't think they're going to have a great bounce back effort after that, Randy?
Did you get a little trouble for doing that once before?
It wasn't me. No, it was another guy. I'll out him. It was Craig Rutledge, who's one of our a spectacular engineer of ours. Back in the Rams days, we were airing a Monday night game, and the Rams were way behind, and Craig put on our 101 ESPN Twitter page, due to contractual obligations, 101 ESPN will now bring you the second half of this game. The Rams got mad, but it was
we're
funny.
Getting booed now.
Yeah, it was funny.
Look what you did, Randy.
Okay, Minnesota lost to Boston U in the NCAA hockey tournament, and Jimmy Suggerud is eligible to sign an entry-level contract with the Blues. Also at Centene this weekend, the tournament before sold-out crowds. Michigan beat Michigan State yesterday. The Wolverines advanced to the Frozen Four. Michigan had beaten North Dakota, and Michigan State had beaten Western Michigan to advance. Battlehawks lost their opener at Michigan, 18-16. A.J. McCarron led what looked like a game-winning drive, capped by a touchdown pass to Marcel Aitman with 54 seconds left. But a Michigan drive to a game-winning 64-yard field goal by Jake Bates with 3 seconds to go, won at 18-16. By the way, Bates hit the first one, but the Battlehawks had called timeout from 64 yards right down the middle. They called timeout, another 64-yard try, and he nails it. And he had not kicked a field goal since high school.
Since high school?
Yeah.
What?
He didn't. He was a kickoff specialist in college. They don't kick much in the UFL because they don't have extra points and stuff. So a 64-yard game-winning field goal, unbelievable.
Hey,
Man.
practice pays off. That's what that lesson is, Randy.
Yeah. Practice does, I guess. It must.
I'm guessing he's practicing behind the scenes. I doubt that was the first time he had literally done that since high school.
Right. Next weekend's men's Final Four is set. UConn used a 30-0 run in the second half. 30-0. It was 23-23. They scored 30 in a row and rolled Illinois 77-52. You do take out that 30-0 run, though, and Illinois wins the game. And Alabama advanced with an 89-82 win over Clemson.
That's a pretty important. It's a pretty important thing.
And then yesterday, Purdue knocked off Tennessee 72-66. NC State upended Duke 76-64. NC State's first Final Four since Jim Valvano coached them to the 1983 championship and had that iconic shot of him looking for somebody to hug and couldn't find anybody.
I love this team, by the way.
Oh,
and I know
great.
we're going to touch on it later, but DJ Burns is probably my new favorite
Mine
college
too.
basketball player now.
Yep. And tonight in the women's Final Four, you're going to have that epic regional final between Iowa and LSU. It's Caitlin Clark against Angel Reese and all of the stuff. It's funny how LSU tries to portray themselves as the villains here, and they kind of are, but then they get upset when people call them the villains. You know, it's kind of a weird dichotomy there.
Nobody likes to be called a villain necessarily.
But they kind of bring it on themselves. They
should embrace it. I get what you're saying is that they should embrace it. I feel like they do for the most part, but at the same time, they are very critical of others.
Yeah, they are. So, Matthew, you don't agree?
I think certain parts of the LSU team feed into it, and then also are okay with some of the backlash. And I think certain parts really don't like it.
Okay.
I think certain people are like, yeah, you know, if you're gonna talk a little bit, be about it.
Right.
And I think some people just absolutely hate if you talk about them.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. It'll be a fun game tonight, though. The LSU trampled Iowa last year in the championship game, so this will probably be the championship game tonight, even though it's a regional final. All right, we're off and running here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, 3 things we loved from the weekend here on 101 ESPN. All right, time for 3 things we loved about the weekend here on this Monday on 101 ESPN. Brooke, what did you love about the weekend?
Number 3.
What I loved about the weekend is that you at least had the Cardinals get their first win of the season. So I know that I want it a little hard, a little earlier. So I just at least want to put it out there that I'm excited the Cardinals were able to get their first win of the season because you have a lot more to go, Randy. And you need that to happen. Lance Lynn was vintage Lance Lynn also in that game. You had 4 scoreless from him. You had the rain delay that they were able to power through. So at least you were able to get 1 win out of this series. It should have been more.
But you got to win.
But you got to win.
You have the exact same start as the 2004 Cardinals that won 105 games. They started 1-3 also, and look what happened to them. They were 16-16, Brooke, and they won 104 games.
No, this might be a very different group, Randy.
No?
This is a very different group.
Brooke, my number 3 is seeing the Cinderella NC State Wolfpack advance to the Final Four. What a cool story they are with all of the transfers that they have. They knock off Duke yesterday, 76-64. A lot of people love to see them beat Duke. And they're just fun. They're a fun team. They handled number 2 seeded Marquette 67-58 in their previous game. And I'm kind of rooting for NC State to win it all now.
I am too. They're my new favorite team because of DJ Burns. Is it safe to say that big man basketball is back in college basketball?
It is. With Eddie and him, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yes. But he's just a funny guy. I was seeing all the videos afterwards where he went and took pictures with the security staff, like he sought them out. He was celebrating with the band and cheerleaders afterwards. He seems like just such a likable guy.
Yeah, enjoying college life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 2.
My number 2, that was actually going to be my number 2 is NC State. So I'm going to do a little pivoting here, Randy. My number 2 is Victor Scott II. I also enjoyed the interview. Did you see his parents interviewed yesterday?
Yeah.
And his mother was asked, where does he get his speed from? And she said, he gets it from me. Right. I love that. And I can see where he gets that confidence from. So I thought that Victor Scott II, it was a great weekend for him, great weekend for Lance Lynn. And those are my 2 highlights.
When Victor gets on base, he's electrifying. He great.
Is.
And why not put him at the top of the lineup? And by the way, how about seeing a bunt the other night? That was cool. I didn't know that the Cardinals were capable of that.
I thought that was illegal. I thought that was part of the rule ban.
Pretty cool. Brooke, my number 2 is getting the Battlehawks going, and next Saturday they're going to be here in town, and they'll take on Arlington in their home opener, and it will be bananas over at the Dome. But it was good to see them get going. It would have been nice to see them hang on for the win, but it was a fun game, fun fourth quarter, and they look like they have a chance to be really good. There are a lot of talented players on the Battlehawks. I like to see them get this season underway. Still a few tickets available. You know, on Saturday, might as well sell 66,000, right? Why not just sell the thing out and then win the whole blanking thing?
I like that idea.
Yeah.
What time is kickoff on Saturday? I should know this off the top of my head, but I was
7 o'clock.
trying to plan out my weekend.
I think it's
okay, 7 o'clock.
Pretty sure.
All right.
By the way, it used to be funny back in the day because the Rams sold out every single game at the Dome from 1995 when they arrived until they started 0-8 in 2007. And Rick Smith, the former PR guy of the Rams, would always give the attendance. Today's attendance, 66,000. It was just, it was like a board. Yeah, 66,000. They did it again and again and again. Today's attendance, 66,000.
Well, I think that people make a whole day of it, don't you?
Oh,
you
yeah.
go over the Cardinals game because first pitch is at 1:15 on Saturday, and then you can go and walk over it. That's great for downtown St. Louis. That stuff makes me happy when you can see all the fans going over from one stadium to another.
It'll be really fun. It is a 7 o'clock start, and this game will be on ABC Network on Saturday night. So it'll be pretty wild. It'll be good.
It will be. Oh, also want to point out, somebody texted in because I said players who did well this weekend. I'm going to add Steven Matz to that. He pitched well.
He did.
And then he was pulled after 81 innings. We'll go over that later.
Yeah, we will.
Number 1.
My number 1 is on Saturday. I went to a great event. I think you worked with them as well. The Young Friends of Kids with Cancer.
Yes, they're great.
And they had their annual Voodoo in the Lou event on Saturday at the Fox Theater, and it was a lot of fun. I actually met a listener out there. I wonder if he'll be listening today. But my friends and I were in desperate need of somebody to take a picture of us, and David gets very anxious with it because he knows that I like the angles. It's something. It's just that girls know, like the right angles, lighting. Randy, you've already dealt with it, and
yes,
so
I
has
have.
Brock. Because I want.
that's.
Because
One way to describe the whole process is, we just know better.
we just know. We have an eye for this. And it's about all of us looking good for the photo.
You have a video background too, so
I do. So
you're a perfectionist. So there's
a lot
that goes into this. Yeah,
there's a lot.
You are a lot.
And so David gets really anxious about it, and luckily this girl stepped in and took some photos, and her boyfriend came over and said that he listens to the show, so shout out to him. And it was a lot of fun. It was a fun event. They had a burlesque show as
Nice.
well. So that happened, but it was a great event.
Very cool. Good. I just enjoyed the weather. I got out for a bike ride. I got out and played some golf. I just kind of hung out outside, ate outside yesterday. So it was just a perfect weather weekend in St. Louis. I loved having this finally good weather so that I could get out and do my outdoor stuff.
It really was nice this weekend. My only issue is I have to wait a little bit because my allergies are so bad. And so I did go outside for a little bit this weekend, and then immediately I'm like, eyes are red, itchy, nose, all that different kind of stuff. And I'm taking Claritin and the nasal spray. So if anybody else has any other advice, also I do the local honey. I don't know what it is. I don't know what is growing, sprouting this time of year, but it works against me.
We need an allergist to check in with us. Does an allergist specialize in allergies, you think?
Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
It does.
The only reason you can call them an allergist if they don't specialize in allergies is like a negative way, like you have a lot of allergies.
Yeah.
You give people allergies.
You give people
What kind of superpowers you coming up with over there? You sick Stan Lee.
Yeah. Matthew, how was Vegas?
It was fun.
Good. Did you win money?
I would have.
You would have.
That's what they all say.
If
That's what keeps you
If I would
going.
have walked away at the right time, but
Yeah.
I was. There's no other way to put it. I was a moron about it, and I said, no, I can keep making it. Like, because my thought process is, I know when the curve is bending away from me, and my thought process was, I'm in the middle of the curve, and I still got more to go before it bends away, and the numbers start playing against me. And I was at the end of the curve. And I thought I was in the middle of the curve. I was at the end of the curve. I had already gotten what I was going to get. And then I fell into the gambler's trap, and I was like, I'll sit here for another hour. And that was a dumb hour. Not even to get it back. I was up. I was up big. And I decided to let it just wither away as the dealer just assassinated me 20 after 20 after 20.
It's funny how that goes, right? It's like they almost know that they have you hooked and locked in.
The craziest part is I 2 of the days I played on a blackjack table that had an auto deal. So at no point did they ever shuffle in front of you. It was just little packs of cards going into an auto shuffle or constantly churning cards. You think that's going to screw you more because it's a weird, like, what are they doing over there with that? What's going on in that machine? I was up on that machine across 2 days. I go to a human dealer that actually has to touch the cards at some point, that I actually can see how many decks there are, and that one just kills me about 75% of the day. I big 25%. So it's a weird thing. It's like you would expect the human aspect would be a little bit nicer to you.
Yeah,
and it got me so much worse.
Yeah.
So walk away when you're up, everybody. That's the lesson you got to learn. I haven't gone gambling in a while, and so I forgot.
Humans can be the worst.
Yeah, that's a good
Humans
point.
can be the worst.
They can. All right, that's 3 things we loved about the weekend here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, Cardinals have a bunch of injuries. Is this a coincidence? That's next on 101 ESPN.
Tele Tire is your hometown tire experts with the best prices, largest selection, same-day service, and expert auto service, including a no-hassle 3-year, 30,000-mile warranty. Save now on tires and service, and visit Tele Tire's newest location in Creve Coeur. For more than 80 years, Tele Tire has been the best place for tires and auto service. And right now, get great deals on tires and service with rebates on select tires, wheel alignments, and check out our wild card special. Plus, don't miss Tele Tire's newest location in Creve Coeur.
Kevin Moret for Mentality Men's Health. Guys, in the over 23,000 clients who came to us for testosterone treatment, most clients start so they can do it right. After helping men for over 10 years, every day we see new clients whose treatment had shortcuts on treatment and monitoring. This not only affected their results, it was also risky. Guys, work with a doctor, one who monitors your care, reviews labs, and modifies your dose. Our doctors will optimize your free testosterone and maximize you mentally and physically. Schedule in St. Louis at lowtusa.com. That's lowtusa.com.
This is NASCAR driver Tony Breidinger, inviting you to make a pit stop at Raising Cane's for my favorite craveable chicken fingers. Turbocharge your order and get it even faster when you order online or with the Raising Cane's app. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love. Raising Cane's is not affiliated with NASCAR.
ESPN Sports Center.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Not a great weekend for your St. Louis teams. The Cardinals take just 1 of 4 from the Dodgers, and they will be back in action later today as they start a 3-game series against the Padres. It's an 8:40 first pitch for the Cardinals in Game 1 of that 3-game series. Also not great for the St. Louis Blues as they fall to the San Jose Sharks in a disappointing effort, 4-0. They'll be back in action tonight, 8 p.m. puck drop, 7 p.m. pregame show right here on 101 ESPN. And also over the weekend, St. Louis City SC takes their first loss of the season as they fall to Real Salt Lake 3-1. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
The Cardinals suffered another injury over the weekend as Riley O'Brien, a.k.a. Riley O'Brien, went down the IL with a right forearm strain. Hello, Tommy John. Nice to meet you.
No,
John King
Randy,
was called
don't
up.
say that.
Is it John King after last night, or do we call him Jean?
Jean King. Either way, it still slips out that way because we said it so much last year.
I thought Jean was the good version.
John. Okay, so this is John that pitched last night.
John showed up.
He was called up to serve up the game-winning homer last night. But O'Brien joins Keenan Middleton with forearm strains. Sonny Gray has a hamstring strain. Tommy Edman was supposed to be ready for spring training, but still doesn't have a timetable for his return from wrist surgery. Are all of these injuries, Brooke, a fluke, do you think? Or do you think there is something to be said or concern about the way that these players are treated?
I think there is some concern there, but then again, you have a lot of other teams dealing with injuries right now, too. If we're talking specifically about the pitchers, there was an article that came out this past weekend talking about the high amount of injuries we're currently seeing right now with pitchers across the league. Right.
It's like 72% of all injuries on the IL are pitchers, and it's alarming. And you look around, the Yankees, I look at the 4 undefeated teams. The Yankees are 4-0. They have 7 on the IL. The Pirates are 4-0. They have 8 on the IL. Detroit is 3-0. They only have 1. And then Pittsburgh is also undefeated. And Milwaukee's also undefeated. They have 3. So 2 of the 4 undefeated teams in baseball are from your National League Central. But there's wildly diverging numbers of players on the IL. The Dodgers are loaded up with players on the injured list. And you've got these franchises like the Yankees and the Dodgers that are spending more money on medical science than anybody else, and they're in really advanced areas. All of the hospitals and all of the medical knowledge in New York and L.A. that you would think that they would have better success dealing with injuries, but they don't. And I think there's a couple of things that go here. Number one, medical science and the ability to diagnose injuries is greater than it's ever been. The use of the MRI and the CT scans. If there's the smallest little strain, we know about it and the player winds up on the IL. And the other part of it is what we were talking about in the opening segment, is that players are just so babied, they won't even allow them to pitch in back-to-back days, let alone pitch with some sort of a strain that they might want to pitch with.
They are. And that's the thing, though, is how do you walk back? How do we go back in time? How do we go back to how it was before, where you did have relief pitchers that could not only pitch multiple innings, but multiple days in a row? How can you walk this back? Because the Players Association has a lot of power in Major League Baseball, a lot of power. You're not going to walk back that. You have agents who are really looking at the data and the science. You have teams looking at the data and science of things. Think about just Steven Matz this weekend. I know that we're going to touch on this a little bit later on, but he was pulled after 81 pitches, and a lot of people being critical of that. I questioned it as well, but that's because he was apparently slowly ramped up into spring training because they believe that that was a big reason why he was injured in prior seasons, is because he did a full spring training and then he goes into the season, then you have injuries with him. That's probably something you should know before you sign him to 4 years.
Yes, but in his last year with Toronto, he had been very durable. Now with the Cardinals, he has not. And I understand the philosophy of wanting to have a pitcher available for the end of the season rather than the beginning. And I understand what they're doing with Steven Matz, but the fact of the matter is, Brooke, he's going to wind up on the IL. That's just who he is. That's what his MO is. And we love Steven Matz, but that doesn't make him any more durable.
No.
And he is going to wind up on the injured list. And I don't know that there is a way that the Cardinals could have prevented these. The one that I worry about is Tommy Edman, because they told us he'd be back for spring training, and here we are 4 games into the season, and it was Valentine's Day that they started spring training. Now we're past Easter, and we're a month and a half past that, and we still haven't seen the guy. And so that's one of the things I wonder about medically, is either the process or the projection. Maybe the thing to do is just to not say he'll be back when he's back.
That's what probably should have happened. Hindsight is 20/20, of course, but I think the Tommy Edman situation is the most concerning out of all of them, too, just because of the way that it was handled. So he didn't get surgery until after the season was done. You had, which I wish that you would have had, an end-of-the-season press conference, because one of the things that you go over in that press conference is possible surgeries, who's already started on a surgery, because we know that Donovan, he had his a little bit earlier. So then you start to know, okay, what is the plan this offseason when it comes to injuries, how they're going to be handled, who's getting surgery, who's not. So then we don't even know that Tommy Edman is having surgery during the offseason. And then you find out about it randomly during the offseason. Oh, by the way, he had surgery. Oh, that seems like a big issue for the guy who's going to be your center fielder going into the season. And then you get to winter warmup. And I was there for winter warmup. And Tommy Edman even said himself that he will be ready for opening day. So I don't know what lines were crossed there in miscommunication, but there's something off about that, where you have a player, and it seems like the Cardinals as well, thinking that he would be possibly ready by opening day, and then there was setback after setback. By the way, Lars Nootbaar, he is scheduled to join AAA Memphis this week, and he will be eligible to come off the injured list on Thursday, and then Sonny Gray will be starting for Memphis on Wednesday.
And Dylan Carlson was doing some baseball-related activity over the weekend, too. And the reason I didn't include Nootbaar and Carlson when I gave the initial list is because they weren't strains or muscle injuries. Those were just fluke injuries. Nootbaar was actually, it was ribs, it was bones, and then Nootbaar had Carlson had the AC joint. So those were different. Those happened in the course of the games. The other part of this, Brooke, and go back to the beginning when we talked about max velocity. It would seem like if you're going to be throwing max velo on a regular basis, which pitchers do, that there is a much greater chance of injury rather than dialing it back to throw 95% with command. It seems like the chance of injury is much greater if you are using everything that your body has.
And I know we have a lot of coaches and youth coaches who could probably weigh in on this, but Randy, do you think another part of this is that you have kids specializing more and more at a younger age, and you have kids starting to pitch at a younger age? Some of the guys that you talked about in the past, I know that they pitch probably at a younger age, but I'm talking about at a highly competitive level where they're just specializing in just that. They're even talking about, as you mentioned, when you go to these different camps and stuff like that, what are they looking for? They're looking for how hard this kid can throw, and you're doing that, it feels like, at an even younger age than maybe in the past. Do you feel like that's a fair assumption?
It is. And one of the other parts of this is, in addition to the individuality of the teaching and the max velo, but kids are getting Tommy John when they're 12, 13, 14 years old, too. And so the UCL joint is reinforced, and so they're able to throw harder theoretically. By the way, one more note about max velo. Did you see that Jordan Hicks threw 5 innings for the Giants on Saturday night?
Randy, I'm trying to ignore everything that's happening because it hurts. Because you have Tyler O'Neill, who looked great, by the way, and then you have Jordan Hicks, and then you have Jack Flaherty, a lot of guys who are doing well. It just the list keeps going on and on and on.
Jordan Hicks, 5 innings, 5 shutout innings, 3 hits, struck out 6, and walked 1 on Saturday. Yes, Matthew?
See what Dylan Cease did? Not as well.
No, he didn't.
Jordan Hicks just outdueling the guy that everyone was begging for this year when you literally had a guy who just completely shoved against him on your roster, and you never really gave him the chance to actually start like that. It's a little salt in the wound.
Yeah, but at least you can look at this, okay? If you want to be sunshine lollipops. Well, maybe not. Jack Flaherty, 6 innings for the Tigers. He allowed 1 run on 4 hits, struck out 7, and didn't walk a hitter.
Well, what about this? How's Tyler O'Neill doing, though?
He's doing okay.
Set a record with his 5th straight opening day home run.
Yeah. So
we don't need to talk about all that.
At least Genesis Cabrera is going to get suspended. Okay,
want a positive? You know what? I love him for getting that was insane. Genesis Cabrera is ready at all moments, and I like that about him.
I love it. Yep, it's great. So the Cardinals play the Padres tonight, and that action will be on Bally Sports. And if I'm not mistaken, is it a 9:10 start? There's so much going on tonight. 8:10 start.
Is it 8:10 or is it 8:40? Why do I have 8:40?
8:40. Excuse me. I thought.
Yes.
8:40.
8:40. Then.
You know, just normal times that you have a game to start.
So tonight on TV, you're going to have Blues and Oilers. You're going to have Cards and Padres, and you're going to have women's basketball with LSU and Iowa. So we're going to be heating up those remote controls for tonight.
This is saying just ESPN Plus.
For what?
For the Cardinals Padres game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Which, by the way, I
that's
think
right.
would
They
be
did
the
tell us that.
4th different TV provider in the first 5 games.
Bally, Apple, ESPN,
and then ESPN Plus.
Yeah, how about that?
4 TV providers in your first 5 games. Listen, I'm not saying
it's gonna be on
baseball is.
Fubo.
Is it going to be on Fubo too?
Yeah, I pay
Fubo
enough money to that.
You get ESPN Plus.
But I think that's why.
But it says
ESPN.
Bally Sports Midwest. And, okay.
I'm surprised that wouldn't.
Let's not
Let
scare
me just
everybody
check the-
because
all right.
you just scared me.
Check the
Because
official Cardinal website,
also,
Cardinals.com.
I have to hold
Usually put it
myself
at the
back
bottom
from
on this
calling
one,
it
too.
Fubu. You remember Fubu, the clothing brand?
Oh, yeah, it is Fubo.
But this is Fubo.
Okay. Yeah, Bally Sports Midwest. So you're all good. And you can watch it on ESPN Plus if you aren't in the St. Louis metro area or in Iowa or Illinois or Arkansas or,
Not a lot of Cardinals fans in those areas.
Yeah, right. Coming up next, we've got Take It or Leave It. Send your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Tioli next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're looking for a great place for lunch today, I want you to head on over to Fenton Bar and Grill and enjoy the best patio in the area. The patio at Fenton Bar and Grill is spectacular, and it's a great place for lunch or today, a happy hour, or if you're going to watch all the sports tonight, Fenton Bar and Grill is all about sports. So you can hang out on the patio or you can head on inside, and all their TVs are going to have games for you. And you'll be greeted by the greatest staff in the area. Come by and say hi to Megan or Kelly or Colleen or Casey, the whole gang, and enjoy some of the great food. One of the things that I love about Fenton Bar and Grill is their diverse menu. And last week I had one of those chicken Caesar wraps. It was absolutely delicious with tater tots on the side. And don't forget to have the trash wings. The best trash wings, not only in St. Louis, not only in Missouri, but in the whole world, are at the Fenton Bar and Grill. They're easy to get to. Just head on over to the soccer park and follow Rudder Road to the Fenton Bar and Grill. Learn more at FentonBarandGrill.com. And when you stop by, tell them Randy sent you. It's a great place for lunch, whether it's personal enjoyment or a business lunch, happy hour, or dinner. It is the Fenton Bar and Grill.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Brooke, Matthew, and Randy, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Okay, Brooke, this is a tough take it or leave it. Take it or leave it tonight when Iowa plays LSU. America outside of Louisiana is going to be rooting for Caitlin Clark and Iowa.
Ooh. I think I'm going to take it, but there are some people who also don't like Caitlin Clark, that they think that she's too fiery, because haven't you seen all the videos and some of the tweets where people are saying they don't like when she yells back at the crowd,
right,
which that's just her being fired up. I don't know if that's necessarily just the case, but LSU, with all their personalities, I think is also a lot more hated.
And especially the coach, Kim Mulkey.
No.
Yeah.
People don't like her?
There are people that do not like Kim Mulkey, yeah.
No
Kramer
way.
Robertson's mom.
What happened to him?
I don't know. Maybe he's an assistant on the staff now.
If you want to find a reason to like Kim Mulkey a little bit more, just watch her college highlights, because she was an absolute bucket, and she's somehow 4 inches shorter than everybody in the women's game, and still like just putting up like floaters over every big man in the game. It's
Instead
insane.
of like
her stats from La Tech are ridiculous.
I saw some of those highlights, and she was like a bulldog, but not as big as a bulldog. Maybe like a little
Frenchie.
chihuahua.
She's a Frenchie.
French bulldog?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's like a French bulldog.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, it just seems like the persona of LSU is one where people are rooting for the opposition now. And you can't even name the coach at Iowa, right? You can name Caitlin Clark, but people seem to be rooting for her.
You got me there, Randy.
Yep.
I cannot say that. I'm trying to figure out what happened to Kramer Robertson. I don't think he's with the Cardinals anymore. But I'll give you my take it or leave it while we do this deep research into where he is currently, because this is vitally important. Take it or leave it. Even though it's just the first series of the season, you're a little concerned about Nolan Arenado. 1 for 16 in this series, by the way.
Brooke, I think I'm going to have to take that, because of the way things went last year. He didn't look particularly great last year, so I would say that is absolutely worth being concerned about. Now,
Especially,
that
didn't
being
you say
said,
that he looked, the way that he looked at the plate at certain times?
He doesn't look right.
No.
But, that can all change tonight. But
I know. I'm trying not to freak out a little bit too much, but still.
With the way things went last year, though, it's kind of a consistent
It felt
thing.
like deja vu. Didn't this weekend just feel like a carryover from 2023?
Yeah.
A lot of the same issues somehow popping up again.
Except Victor Scott.
Well, yes, and that is the silver lining there. But still, I'm just a little bit concerned about Nolan Arenado because we saw last season that if you get off to a bad start, just to keep thinking, oh, they'll find a way to get out of it. They'll find a way to get out of it. And you don't have the World Baseball Classic as an excuse this year.
No. What do they have as an excuse? Injuries? I don't know. Let's see. Kramer Robertson is currently a free agent.
We're just farmers. They got checkbooks.
There you go. That's the difference. So what do the Padres have? They aren't farmers. Maybe they're checkbooks. They might be checkbooks.
Okay, surfer pretty boys.
Yeah, totally.
Beach
That's
bums.
what they're, city boys. Pretty city boys.
Take it or leave it. K-Rob is at the game tonight.
Oh, take it.
I'm going to take that.
Yeah, he was apparently tweeting and all up on Instagram about it. I like this one. Take it or leave it. The Cardinals afternoon is going to be working on recognizing the changeup.
I'm going to leave that.
That's a good one.
I don't know that they go in that in depth.
You don't think so?
I'm sorry.
I think what they do is they say, hey, let's get gooder.
Oh, God.
No.
They do.
You took a fun thing and made it bad.
I did not. No, that's what they're going to work on, getting gooder.
They're going to get gooder.
Take it or leave it. Brash female athletes are frowned upon unfairly compared to their male counterparts.
I'll take it.
Every day of the week.
I will take it.
Okay, yeah, I'll take it too. Then
Were you a little hesitant?
I was just trying to think of brash female athletes that are liked.
Oh, fair point.
Yeah. Are there any? I don't know. Probably not.
No.
So.
I think it's a little different, too, personality-wise. Maybe some of the same things that you see with female athletes. If a male was doing it, he'd be seen as a competitor, passionate.
Right, yep.
But then it's a little bit more problematic when it's a female.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, I'm trying to think of a brash female athlete that people have liked, and I'm not coming up with one. I'm
Serena Williams, but even then she went through so much with tennis. That's
she
a
wasn't
big issue.
universally liked either.
Yes.
Which one of the U.S. soccer stars got in some trouble?
Hope Solo?
Oh, Hope Solo.
I don't think she was very well liked, though.
Okay.
She was in this room. Hope used to come in and do a weekly hit when we had a pro soccer team here.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, she was awesome.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and just at that point, I guess she didn't show up drunk, so she was a sweetheart all the time.
Randy.
She never took a shot at Randy.
Anyways, so somebody from the
She was
573 texted in Serena Williams. I think that's a good one, but definitely during her tennis career, she was not well liked by certain people because she was different.
Right.
She was
No
very
doubt.
different. In many different ways, she was different, and it wasn't fair.
Yeah.
My favorite tennis player of all time is Serena Williams, and I wanted to hit like Serena. I didn't have her muscles, but that's how I played tennis, is just hit for power.
Yeah, and then compare the way she has been received publicly to Chrissy Everett, who is,
Yes.
who was never that person, right?
There's too many rules in tennis either way. So that was
Yeah.
another reason why I like Serena, is that she was definitely changing so many different things.
Right.
Take it or leave it. The Cardinals winning one game is kind of like the Blues. They kind of just hit expectations for the season.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll take
take
that.
it.
Yeah, I don't think the expectations for the Cardinals are extraordinary here or around the country. I figure 81 and 81, 82 and 80 maybe. I don't think that, well, there are some people, I think.
You're betting the Vegas under with that, by the way.
What's that, 84
I think it
and a
was
half?
83 or 84 and a half, depending on where you were at.
Yeah. I think I would go under.
You're going under that now?
Yeah, I would. It's it's pretty close, right? 82 or 83, 84. I think that's a really good number. And all it takes is one injury or a couple of fluke games, and all of a sudden you can get from 81 to 84 really easily.
Okay, I have another take it or leave it. Speaking of the injuries, take it or leave it, the Cardinals will sign another bullpen arm.
Leave it.
You don't think so?
It'll be somebody, their roster is their roster, and it'll be somebody from the minors.
Okay, take it or leave it. They should sign another bullpen
I don't
arm.
even know who's out there.
That's a good question. But at this point, you need something when you don't know the full status of Middleton and now Riley O'Brien.
They like their guys, though.
So then you're going to bring up Nick Robertson, I assume.
Yeah.
When are you going to use Fernandez?
Well, that's a good start. Why not just use that? Now, here's one thing the Cardinals are very concerned about is their 40-man. So you've got Adam Kloffenstein in the minors. Mm-hmm. You've got Robertson in the minors. And
whatever you're going to do without Alfonso Rivas.
Well, that's true. Okay.
You're right,
that's
though.
True.
They are concerned about their 40-man, but I don't know why, because there seems to be at least two pretty obvious spots in the 40-man for people if you want to open up, if you wanted to change things around.
Yeah. Well, and you get Sonny Gray back soon, and that moves a starter into the bullpen, right? So all of a sudden King is gone and Thompson's in the bullpen. So that gives you
John King.
John King is gone.
Take it or leave it.
No.
Take it or leave it. You'd rather not make the tournament than have to watch your team go have a 30-0 run against them.
I'm going to leave it. You should still.
I'm taking that actually.
Really?
That is soul crushing. Listen, I would rather.
Not as soul crushing for you as it was for Kerry Davis.
No,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to think of I think Princeton ripped off like a 26-2 run on Mizzou. In last year's tournament when they lost, I think it was like 26-2 or something crazy like that. And that was soul crushing.
But here's the thing is that if they didn't even make the tournament, then the conversation would be they're going to try to get rid of Brad Underwood.
Well, yeah, if you're Brad Underwood, you're certainly leaving it.
This is the difference is now you made it to the Elite Eight, which, yes, that sucks to lose in that fashion. But if you didn't make the tournament at all, then Underwood would be in the hot seat.
He would, no doubt about it.
So that's the difference. Yeah. That's how I see it.
By the way, don't forget Keenan Middleton. He's going to wind up coming back to the Cardinals, too, at some point.
When? Question mark? That's the question.
Next spring?
Oh, Randy, no. That's why I said maybe go get another bullpen arm. You're losing arms at this point.
Gotta get this one in here. Take it or leave it. Having 8 NHL games for Snuggie to know what they want from him to work on in the offseason is more valuable to the Blues than another year on an entry-level deal.
Leave it. Because who's telling him what they want for next year? And it's not going to be here, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know who your coach is going to be, and you have this room and this team giving the kind of effort that they gave on Saturday night, I don't want to put a college player into that.
I wouldn't do it. I was very surprised to see those reports come out that he would possibly be here as soon as the Nashville Predators game.
Yeah, Thursday.
I don't think that's, especially with what just happened this past weekend, what is he going to learn from that room leadership-wise?
Send him down to the A. Sign him and send him down to the A. Let him play with Springfield. I don't think that
it wouldn't be a good decision.
Do you want him to be coached by Drew Bannister?
Well, Banny's not there right now.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe it's not the coach's fault, but you know what? I'd rather have a guy that has a history of winning in the National Hockey League and winning in St. Louis that I know can bring along really good young players.
Mm-hmm.
Q.
Oh, there you go.
What?
If you're signing Q, you're really focusing on, your organization, the young kids in your organization at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
Kane, Taves, Seabrook, Keith, Crawford. Yeah. So those guys were all really, I would suggest that they were really good players. And they won 3 Stanley Cups. Troy Brouwer, Nick Leddy. What?
As soon as you said
Nick has a Stanley Cup ring.
Please God, say Nick Leddy.
He's got a Stanley Cup ring with him.
Yeah, he does.
So if you can win a Stanley Cup with a guy, I want him on my team.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
He does have one.
So thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Randy.
And thank you very much for your texts. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we've got our fresh take. Lance Lynn energizes the team in Saturday night's win. Can he be the leader that they've been looking for? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hi, it's Randy Karraker for my friends at Golf Discount of St. Louis, the only golf store that I count on to help me with my golf game. They have all the top brands in golf, always at the lowest prices. Each location is staffed with expert club fitters and associates with decades of golf industry experience, making Golf Discount of St. Louis the best golf retailer in town. Now with 3 convenient locations, O'Fallon, Missouri, South County, and I'm excited to announce their brand new location is now open in Edwardsville, Illinois. It's the place to be for all your golf needs. Golf Discount of St. Louis. Hey, if you want to give your home a new look and don't want to spend a ton, get in touch with my friends at gutterpros.com, G-U-T-T-E-R, gutterpros.com. They're the best in St. Louis with gutters, but they also do a great job with leaf protection and soffit and fascia and siding. And now's a great time to consider a new face for your home or a new look. And all you need to do is go to gutterpros.com. They're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They do fantastic work, and they get 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews. It's a St. Louis company. The general manager is from St. Louis, and they have a downtown office. And when you go to gutterpros.com and set up your appointment, he's probably going to know where your house is. Doesn't even need a GPS. They are that ingrained in St. Louis at gutterpros.com. Another thing that you should know about gutterpros.com is that they can do anything, whether it's residential or commercial. They'll have the perfect size gutter that'll act perfectly for your home or your business. Because after all, water goes where they tell it to go at gutterpros.com.
WXOS HD1 East St. Louis. 101 ESPN is driven by Auto Centers Nissan, home of the lifetime warranty and 30-day return. Perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
First game of the year, you're just trying to, ease your way into it. This is not the lineup for that, Loaded the bases up, wait to see if the old dog still had it, and he still does, so we're all right. So, but all in all, my stuff felt good. And when you first start, you miss a little bit here and there, and I was able to correct and not give up a big inning. Yeah, I mean, if you strike out the side after loading the bases and you don't show any emotion, then we might need to check a pulse.
That is Cardinal right-hander Lance Lynn on Bally Sports after Saturday night's win over the Dodgers, and he was really good. As he mentioned, he loaded the bases in the first inning, then struck out the side. But overall, Lynn gave the Cardinals an opportunity to win the game. He delivered 4 shutout innings, struck out 5, walked 1, and allowed 4 hits. But most importantly, I think, Brooke, is what he showed in terms of the emotion that he talked about. And after the game, Giovanni Gallegos said, I like that guy, and he's so good for the young guys, and even for the guys like me. He said, for me, I like Lance's energy, and he almost transmits it to me at the end of the game. So you've got Gallegos saying that. You brought in, if you're the Cardinals, the main guys in free agency, who were Lynn, Gray, and Kyle Gibson. But then you signed for leadership Matt Carpenter and Brandon Crawford. The most vocal guy and the guy who is most outwardly highly competitive of that group is Lance Lynn. And his actions on the field, I think, do transmit to people like Gallegos and other players.
I think it works out a lot in that way. And also, him performing well also adds more to the leadership that he can provide in that room. Because, of course, if you're not performing well, maybe you get inside your own head, and then you're not able to be even more of a leader for the rest of the group. Or who's going to listen to the guy that's not performing well, giving out advice? You'd be like, okay, all right, sure, whatever you say. It's not working for you, so what kind of advice are you trying to give me? But I love the fiery passion that Lance Lynn provides. Also got ejected twice during spring training.
Yep.
So you just like to see that fiery passion
Twice
from
in
him.
the same game.
Because we talked, twice in the same game. We talked about it a lot last season. It felt like there was too many Boy Scouts on this roster, and that's a good thing. You want good guys on your team. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I want some guys with some passion that can provide some spark. That's why I like Victor Scott II so much, the confidence that he exudes. Lance Lynn is very confident and very fiery, and I hope that a lot of the other guys can pick that up. I know that some of them, it's not maybe ingrained in them in their personality, but to me, that shows that you care about winning. And when you're that fired up about something, I'd rather see that than a guy who looks like he could care less if the team's winning or losing.
And, Brooke, to me, this is the key line from Ali Marmol. He said, I love watching him because he's a competitor. He cares. He shows his emotion, and this is the key. And he makes it fun. Because we both got the impression last year so often during the season that the Cardinals weren't having fun. And Lance Lynn knows that he's playing a kid's game. He's getting paid a lot of money for it. And he should react in an emotional manner when he does what he did on Saturday, getting out of that first inning jam. He's 36 years old, and he still cares a lot.
But it's a different emotional manner, right? Because you don't want to see the emotional manner of the bad body language of, oh, I was struck out, and then I'm just going to kind of put my head down and then go back into the dugout. His the way that he uses himself emotionally is because it's about the team and about pushing himself forward more. There is a difference there, right? Because there's the bad emotional look, and then there's the good emotional look, which I think that Lance Lynn can provide for this team.
And the reason that I wanted to bring this up this morning is because the Blues could use a Lance Lynn in their room. They could use that sort of fire and competitiveness. Is Lance Lynn's leadership going to make the Cardinals any better? No, they aren't talented enough for his leadership to make them better. But they do have young people on their roster, people like Zach Thompson, people like Matthew Liberatore, those young pitchers, some of the young relievers, that if they pay attention to the way he goes about his business, they'll be better in the long run for it. That's what leadership is all about, is making the people behind you better. And he can do that. Sonny Gray, allegedly, from what he has shown, is capable of doing that. I think.
Allegedly.
Well,
Randy, we'll see him soon enough.
I know that's the thing. I just don't know, but Gibson will show that. I don't have any doubt about that. And we know what Matt Carpenter is for the position players. Brandon Crawford had that reputation in San Francisco. So I do think from a mental standpoint, an emotional standpoint, what the Cardinals did during the offseason will benefit them. Will it benefit them this season? Maybe not, but will these young players be better off because they spent time around Gray, Lynn, Gibson, Crawford, Carpenter? I think they will.
Guys who hate losing.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see. Winning is great. Of course, you want to win, and you want to teach that as well. But what about the guy who hates losing? Because that's an energy that's completely different. That's
why great teams are great teams, because they have a collection of players that hate losing, especially the leadership. Why were the Cardinals great in the mid-2000s, that 04, 05, 06 group? Because people like Jim Edmonds and Albert Pujols and Yadier Molina and Chris Carpenter and Jason Isringhausen, they just hated to lose. Why was the greatest show on turf great? Sure, they had a lot of talent. That team hated losing. They were devastated when they came into Tennessee and lost that regular season game. And they said, this isn't going to happen. The two games that they lost, the third one they didn't even try, but that team hated losing. And the same thing with that Stanley Cup team that we covered, Brooke, that the Blues champions in 2019. What was the key? That leadership just despised losing, but they handled it well. They were mature enough when they had the hand pass game. They hated it, but they handled it well.
Because you had a lot of different guys in that room. When you walked into that locker room for that Blues team specifically, and you remember, Randy, there was a lot of just really fiery, scary guys. Even like as a media member, you're scared to go and talk to them. So if I'm even intimidated intimidated by them. Imagine going and facing them on the ice.
And
that intimidation factor was there, where you saw that dissipate over the years by some of the moves that have been made.
Right. And the swagger that was brought to the fore by a guy like Maroon, right?
Yes.
Who yelled at the Bruins, you guys are blanked. That's another nice thing to have. Is
Alexander Steen swatting away mics and scaring guys on the ice.
Right. So it's good to have those guys, and I think the Cardinals do have some of those guys a little bit past their prime, but at least they have some, and maybe they can pass that along to some of the young, talented Cardinal players that they have.
Real quick, from the 3-1-4, hate losing needs to come from the top. Attitude reflects leadership.
I agree with that. Yeah, from the top being Ali Marmol or Craig Berube or Dick Vermeil or Tony La Russa. Yeah. I would agree with that. There's something to be said for being the manager or the coach and managing people, and that's the way our industry is. Our general manager hates to lose, but he also says you got to win. And if you don't win, then bad things happen.
That's very true. People lose their jobs. People get traded.
It's not great. That's today's Fresh Take here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. He'll give us his take on the Blues' 4-0 loss to San Jose on Saturday night at Enterprise Center. Kerbs is next. You might want to talk about something completely different. He's coming your way on the opening drive.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
Brooke Grimsley here for your Redbird report. The Cardinals coming away with one win in their 4-game series against the Dodgers to open the season. Their first win of the season coming from Saturday's extra innings affair where Lance Lynn pitched 4 scoreless frames, and they made it through a rain delay to win 6-5 in 10 innings. Yesterday, though, after building up a 4-0 lead, thanks in part to a strong start from Steven Matz, the Cardinals bullpen couldn't hold on, and the Dodgers powered their way back, winning 5-4 in the series finale. The Cardinals with some key injury updates this weekend. Riley O'Brien placed on the injured list this weekend with a flexor tendon strain in his right arm. Lars Nootbaar is scheduled to join AAA Memphis on a rehab assignment beginning on Tuesday. He is eligible to come off the injured list on Thursday. Sonny Gray will start for Memphis on Wednesday night. Your Redbirds are back in action today against former manager Mike Schild and the Padres. First pitch is at 8:40 with Kyle Gibson on the mound.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
Making people comfortable since 1926. Now do the Monday morning math. That means that's 98 years of making people comfortable in their homes. That's pretty doggone impressive. And with the weather turning and you're starting to go from the heat in your house to the air conditioner, get classic air care coming your way to help maintain your system. Have them come in. Have them check out your air conditioning unit. Have them service it. Because if it's been a while, have them take a look at it. Make sure it's ready to go. So when the summer hits and the St. Louis heat starts to get at you, you don't have to call for a repair then because you maintained it now. It's classic air care. They come into your house. They'll take great care of you. If you need a new unit, they can take care of that as well. But the whole point is to avoid having to spend the money on a new unit. That's why you keep it maintained. Book your maintenance appointment today with Classic Air Care. It's easy. You can do it online. They text you when they're on their way, so you know you don't have to be sitting around the house for 4 hours waiting for them. It's Classic Air Care. Book your appointment online at classicaircare.com.
It's time for Curbside with the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber. Brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Randy, and we head to the celebrity line and your voice of the St. Louis Blues here on 101 ESPN. Chris Kerber joins us. Blues and Oilers tonight, pregame at 7. It's an 8 o'clock game, a late start here on 101 ESPN. Kerbs, good morning. How was your Easter?
You know what? It was nice, Randy. Had a nice day. It was a gorgeous day, so perfect ending to the weekend.
Yeah, the middle part wasn't that great with the Blues and the Sharks. What the heck?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. You think about it over the last couple of days, and if you lose to one of the bottom-dwelling teams in the league, you know, once or twice a year, that's going to happen, right? You're going to just there's going to be some bad games, you know, but when you've lost 7 times to them, when you've lost twice to San Jose, twice to Columbus, twice to Arizona, and once to Chicago, that's no longer a fluke, right? That's no longer, we just had an off night. There is something up with that I think needs to be looked into, whether it's, you know, just the mental makeup of the team, certain other aspects of, you know, what it takes to win consistently. And so to me, that's kind of more, there's your playoffs right there. Doug Armstrong said that he felt that they put a team together that could make the playoffs, but you know, the way he saw it would be, you know, the top part of the middle third. And when you're sitting 5 points out of a playoff spot, and you could have been 3, but when you're sitting 5 points out of a playoff spot and you've lost those 7 games, because like if you think about it, are you really that upset with an overtime loss in Edmonton, right? Are you really that upset about an overtime loss to the Vegas Golden Knights? No. No, that's with where those teams are compared to where you are in your, you know, reorganization plan. That's pretty typical. Those feel worse because you've had those other 7 losses as examples, and that's a snag for this team.
In your latest Curbside episode, which everybody should go check out, you talk about something that has crept into the DNA of the Blues this season and even last season. And as I mentioned, everybody should go listen to that. But for those who haven't heard it yet, what have you seen that has crept into the DNA last season and this season?
Well, Brooke, if I tell you that, they're not going to listen to the podcast.
You can give them it's a little teaser. It's a little teaser, you know?
Like, for those that don't want to actually go do it, here's what you missed.
Give us the cliff notes.
No, but we got into a lot more than that. That was one of the teasers on it was, kind of the DNA. And then we just touched on it just a little bit. We went into a little more detail of, okay, you've lost those 7 games, okay, and that's a pretty big deal when you look at kind of, you know, where you are and how you are as a hockey team. The challenge that this year has presented, okay, for me is keeping the patience in mind of really understanding exactly where you're at. Okay, every game that Zach Bolduc is playing, he's getting a little bit more experience. We've seen a great jump in Jake Neighbors, right? You've seen Robert Thomas start to emerge as one of the top centermen in the league, and yet you still see where there's room for more night-to-night consistency, right? And despite being a lightning rod, and a lot of times he's kind of brought it on himself with his play, but despite being a bit of a lightning rod, when you look at the season that Jordan Kyrou has had, it's a better season than last year. I'll take 60 points and -8 versus 77 points and -38, right? So there are some things that I think you've got to keep the big picture in mind when you go back and you remember where Doug Armstrong was and what they did. Now, how that's going to play forward, the part that makes it frustrating is you've missed an opportunity. Your goaltending's been good all year. You've had a team that, with the way the West is shaken out, proves to be pretty good enough to have made a playoff spot, but you just couldn't beat those bottom-dwelling teams.
And Curbs,
now, and you still got a chance, but right. It's obviously that much tougher.
And the one thing that I don't know, and I don't watch every team in the league. You watch every team in the league. I know a lot of the players do, but I don't know if the Blues' apparent lack of effort, let's just call it a lack of production against those 7 teams that you mentioned. I don't know if that's a league-wide issue or if that is a Blues issue, because that's something, and JR wrote the piece yesterday in The Athletic. I don't know how you solve it. If I can't figure it out, and I don't know how you solve that problem.
It's well, I think you take the Blues off the hook if you say that it's a league-wide issue. Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, San Jose has only won 17 games this year. Okay,
and the only team they've beaten twice is the Blues, correct?
Right. Yeah, and twice badly.
Yeah.
Okay, twice badly. 5-1, 4-1, right? Or 4-0, 5-1, 4-0. So, you know, I don't think you can look at it, Randy, as a league-wide issue. I do think you just have to stay, you know, a little more myopic on your own team and say, what's our issue? And the thing that jumps off the page, you know, to me, leading back to Brooke's question here, is there's just there's a fight, a collective fight that doesn't exist with this team. It hasn't shown the ability, and I use the word, believe it, and I use the word it because to me, you've got good hockey players, but it's how a team plays as a team that, you know, that really starts to, you know, to make the difference. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to win? We've seen it. And this is the thing. When you've won a championship, which we were finally entitled to in 2019, you saw what it took. And so now your expectation as a fan is that. Because you know that to win again, you've got to get that. And as a fan, you're watching the team right now, and you're like, they don't have it. And it's that collective fight to grab something before it gets out of hand. And we saw it a lot last year, right, where you saw the 7-game win streak, but an 8-game losing streak. The inability to grab it. And I had some people ask over the weekend, well, it's a leadership issue. Guys, this is not a leadership issue at all. It's, I think, a group of some people that can't be led, if that makes sense.
So it's a following issue more than a leadership issue.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, like, are you willing? Like, you know, if you see what Jake Neighbors is doing, okay, and you're one of the guys that's on the outside trying to get back into the lineup, okay, what are you doing? Even with 7 games to go in a playoff, what are you doing in practice to actually get better? So when you get your chance, you get in there. You know, how quickly are you getting off the ice at this time of the year? You know, or is there still something to be worked on? You know, how are you going? You know, are you getting an opportunity up the lineup, but then it's constantly getting dropped to the 3rd line or the 4th line? You know, have you gone 15 games without much production? There's enough individual things that guys can do that just make the team better, and you just haven't seen that collective battle to avoid the messes that you saw on Saturday night.
Well, Curbs, after hearing that, I don't think I want this next thing to happen, because I'm sure you've seen that there's reports that Jimmy Snuggerud is on the way. There's a report that we'll see him as soon as maybe this week, this Thursday, against the Predators in Nashville. Is that something that's actually going to happen?
I would expect, hey, I just found an Easter egg one of my kids didn't find yesterday.
All right.
I got to put that there. Yeah. Hey, sorry, guys, a little ADHD there. That thing was pretty easy right out in the open. Listen, I said this. We also talked a lot of Snuggerud on the podcast on Curbside too. There, Brooke. It makes absolute sense. If you look at what Minnesota did with Brock Faber last year, he came in, he played 2 games for him, then he played for the playoffs. When you start to look at the trend of how things are going, and there's that question, you got to sign a player to an entry-level contract. How does it go? Sometimes you've seen, I think it happened with David Backus, it was Colton Parayko. At the end of their college season, with where the Blues were and not going to make the playoffs, they signed amateur tryouts. They went and they played a couple weeks in the minor leagues, and then we're up with the big club the next year. With somebody like Jimmy Snuggerud, there's some in the organization that feel like he's a straight to the NHL kind of guy. When you have an opportunity and a player like that has the choice to go back to college or come back, sometimes it's, hey, come on, play for us now, right? Yep, you'll burn that 1 year of that entry-level contract, and that's one of the enticements. That's one of the carrots that are out there for them to come and start their pro career. So you're seeing that a heck of a lot more. But if you look at the way he played at the World Juniors or look at his college season, and he's ready to turn pro, and it's part of this next phase of the Blues continuing to turn that corner. So I would expect him to be here. I'd expect we'd see him play in a Blues uniform unless, and again, because I haven't had a conversation with Doug or anyone about that part, unless they have that conversation and convince him that Springfield is the way to go. But my gut says you're going to see him, really soon and be ready to go before the end of the season.
Curbs will be tuned in tonight. Again, it's a late start, 7 o'clock pregame, 8 o'clock face-off for the Blues and the Oilers here on 101 ESPN. Have a great day and a great week and a great April. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys as well. Have an awesome week.
See you later. That is the voice of the Blues, Chris Kerber, here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we need a fighter for the fight. All you need to do is text in 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO to the Air Comfort Service text line with your name and the word fight, and maybe Matthew will pick you to fight me next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, how's your demeanor this morning? Are you moody? Are you irritable? Maybe a little bit impatient? And maybe after the long weekend, you have some low energy and low motivation. Could be a problem with low T. Guys, everybody deals with low T, and there's a way to solve that problem. Low T equals low energy. But if you go to Mentality, they can fix that problem. They're going to restore your testosterone level with an FDA-approved testosterone treatment that will bring you back to where you were from an energy standpoint in your 20s 20s and your 30s. Their board-certified physicians will do a complete panel of your blood work to find out where your testosterone level is, and then they will restore it. And here's one of the cool things about Mentality. They're going to work with your insurance company so that you have as little out-of-pocket expense as possible. Most guys don't have any out-of-pocket expense at all when they work with Mentality. And when you get your weekly treatments at either the Chesterfield or South County clinics, that moodiness is going to go away. That energy is going to return. You're going to be the guy that you used to be and that you want to be. Go to Mentality. Get started today at lowtusa.com.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Cardinals will be back in action tonight after winning just 1 of 4 against the Dodgers to open the season. They're in San Diego with an 8:40 first pitch. It'll be Kyle Gibson facing off against Matt Waldron, a duel of righties tonight in that game. The Blues are also back in action after a rough 4-0 loss over the weekend to the San Jose Sharks. They take on the Oilers tonight. You can catch the game right here on 101 ESPN. It's a little bit of a later game for the Blues. An 8 p.m. puck drop means a 7 p.m. pregame right here on 101 ESPN. Your home for the St. Louis Blues. Also over the weekend, a rough loss for St. Louis City SC as they lose their first game of the season, 3-1 to Real Salt Lake. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your road and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Karraker.
Welcome back to the opening drive. Brooke here alongside Bracchio, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Oz. Oz, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Are you excited to take on Randy on the fight today?
But I'm excited to hear.
Oh, you cut out just for a little bit. What did you say again?
I was saying excited to be here.
Okay, excited to be here. Now, once we get to the end of the fight, I'm going to let you in on a little prank that we're going to do to Randy. We're actually going to give him a different question. He's hiding, hopefully far, far away. He's going to get a different question possibly here for this April Fool's Day.
We're just going to see how he reacts to it.
We're just going to see how he reacts. We might see blackout rage Randy, so you'll get to experience that, Oz. You ready for question number 1?
Sounds good. Let's go.
For the second season in a row, St. Louis City SC picked up their first loss of the year in their 6th match. Who did they lose to 1-0 to in the 6th game of the 2023 campaign? Was it Real Salt Lake, LAFC, or Minnesota FC?
I'll go with Minnesota.
Minnesota?
Yes.
All right. At which A-10 school did Dan Hurley coach before taking over at UConn? Was that Loyola Chicago, Rhode Island, or St. Bonaventure?
St. Bonaventure.
The UConn Huskies have trailed for a grand total of 28 seconds in this tournament. Against which team did they have to overcome this huge deficit against? Was it San Diego State, Northwestern, or Illinois?
Go with Illinois.
All right, and over the weekend, Austin Matthews tallied his second 60-goal season. Who was the only other player besides Wayne Gretzky to tally 5 different 60-goal seasons? Is that Brett Hall, Phil Esposito, or Mike Bossy?
Brett Hall.
Oh.
All right, we will double-check the score, and we will bring in Randy Karraker.
Oz, how are you feeling? It sounded like some plates were breaking in the background. Hopefully that wasn't you throwing in frustration.
No, it should be. I had no idea of any of the questions.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, you never know. You never know.
True.
Randy, he may or may not have had his grapes today, and it's a Monday morning. Oh, he did have his grapes already. I didn't even see you take your grapes out.
Took my grapes. A Propel, yeah.
Oh, there you go. Say hi to Oz, Randy.
Oz, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. We appreciate it.
Every day.
Thank you.
All right, Randy, you ready for question number 1?
Ready.
The WNBA season is right around the corner. Who was the leading scorer for the WNBA last season?
WNBA's leading scorer last season. I think I'll do the lifeline here.
April Fool's, Randy.
I'm not actually. You think I'm actually going to I'm going to come back from vacation and be like, yeah, I think I'll risk this one right out of the gate. No, thank you very much.
It was Jewel Lloyd, though. Jewel Lloyd.
Never,
for your next.
Never heard of Jewel Lloyd. Not once. This is the first for me. Is this true? Is that a real name too?
It is
a real name. Yes.
That's not April Fool's.
No,
it's not a question either.
I was going to go with Diane Taurasi. Did she retire?
I think she just retired.
Oh my gosh! All right, we'll give you the real question.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Ready.
For the second season in a row, St. Louis City SC picked up their first loss of the season in their 6th match. Who did they lose 1-0 to in the 6th game of the 2023 campaign?
Oh, Game 6 last year. I'm going to go with LAFC.
Randy, at which A-10 school did Dan Hurley coach before he joined UConn?
I think it was Rhode Island Ram, if I'm not mistaken.
Final answer?
Yeah.
The UConn Huskies have trailed for a grand total of 28 seconds in this tournament. Against which team did they have to overcome this just daunting deficit?
Oh, man. UConn lost. It must have been early on and in the first 2 games of the tournament. I'll do the lifeline here.
San Diego State, Northwestern, or Illinois?
Wasn't Illinois, I don't think. They've trailed for like 5 minutes completely. So I will do San Diego State, I guess. No. I'm going to go with Northwestern.
Over the weekend, Austin Matthews tallied his second 60-goal season of his career. Who's the only other player besides Wayne Gretzky to tally 5 different 60-goal seasons?
5 different 60-goal seasons. You'd think it would be Mario. I was thinking Mike Bossy could have done it. I'm going to go with one of those two. Even though you've had some, like you had Messier, he never. I don't think he ever scored 65 times. I will go with Mike Bossy.
All right, this is a very, very close fight. Low scoring and just a one-question win. Does Randy Karraker start off his week with a victory, or does Oz come in? And by the way, Oz is calling in from bright and sunny Florida, so we obviously are rooting for him because he's dealing with such terrible weather, and I really feel sorry for him. So does Oz, with an hour ahead of us, does he take the win away from Randy Karraker, or is it Mega Minds to win? Ring that bell. Sorry, Oz. It looks like you're gonna have to go to the beach or one of the amusement parks, or go play a round of golf in sunshine and perfect greenery, because you fell to Randy Karraker 2-1 today in the fight. I'm sorry.
It's all good, and I'll go to work.
Yeah, there you go. It was a close one. And let's go through the questions and answers. Second season in a row, STL City SC didn't lose their first game until their 6th match of the year. It was a 1-0 loss to Minnesota United FC last year that threw them off. It was, in fact, the Rhode Island Rams that Dan Hurley was coaching for a few years before he took over at UConn back in 2018. The UConn Huskies have trailed for a grand total of 28 seconds in this tournament. San Diego State won the tip, scored the first basket, and that is the only time that UConn has faced a deficit this entire tournament. They jumped out to a big lead on Illinois in the first half. Illinois came back, and then obviously we know what happened in the second half as well. Yikes. And over the season, Austin Matthews tallied his second 60-goal season of his career. The only other player besides Gretzky to tally 5 different 60-goal seasons. Randy Karraker, you were absolutely right. You got to think about Messier and Lemieux. They're up there because they got all of them assists. Mike Bossy, though, the only other one to get 5 60-goal seasons. A 2-1 win for Randy Karraker, and a little bit of a dupe on the first question with the WNBA fake, and a victory in the fight. Oz, thank you so much for joining the fight and joining the show today.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Oz.
Oz, good to have you with us. Coming up, it was a great weekend over at the Centene Ice Center. The NCAA hockey tournament took place over there, and we're going to talk to Chris Zimmerman about what we did and what we're doing next year, next on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here for Universal Windows Direct. The weather has just been all over the place recently. It's cold one day and windy, and then the next day it's nice and sunny outside. But where you shouldn't be feeling all those different temperature changes is inside your home. So you need to call my guys over at Universal Windows Direct to avoid all of the weird weather changes that we're experiencing right now, especially all that wind. And you may be wondering, can windows really make that big of a difference? Here's the thing, they really can. Their windows feature super spacer technology, which helps keep the edge of the glass warmer, holds the window seal longer, and makes the windows last up to 5 times longer than other window systems. So you should call Universal Windows Direct today at 314-334-2522 for your free in-home estimate. And for every 2 windows you buy, you get 2 for free. So buy 2, get 2. Buy 4, give 4. There's really no limit to what you can do there. Plus, they'll upgrade your new windows to triple pane glass for free, and they'll double your energy tax credit. Restrictions apply. Tell them I told you to call, and you can also get an additional $250 off your next project. For the last windows you'll ever need, go to universalwindowsdirect.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
Brooke Grimsley, Randy Karraker, the opening drive on your home of the Blues, 101 ESPN, and quite a weekend over at Centene Ice Center. The NCAA hockey tournament was played before sold-out crowds. Michigan beat Michigan State yesterday, so the Wolverines advanced to the Frozen Four. Michigan had beaten North Dakota, and Michigan State had beaten Western Michigan to advance. And joining us now is the president of your St. Louis Blues, who brought this event to town, Chris Zimmerman. Zim, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Randy. Quite a weekend of hockey.
Yeah, pretty amazing relative to what you expected when you and others brought this event to town. How did it go relative to expectations?
Well, it certainly met or exceeded expectations. I think the energy in the facility, the feedback from the teams, from the NCAA committee, all of those things, on all of those levels, they actually probably exceeded our expectations. So, fantastic event with, just great college hockey. And I think really proved that facility may even be a perfect site for the NCAA regional tournaments.
What was some of the feedback that you heard from players, teams, and even the fans that attended this past weekend?
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the interesting stakeholders that I got a note yesterday about the feedback that the building had gotten from the equipment managers. Now, not typically the first line of defense of evaluating how a tournament goes, but coming into, granted, a smaller building than even some of these schools play at on campus, and having the support and the space and the ability to execute and provide what your players need, that's a really, really big deal in an event like that. And to hear that multiple equipment managers were raving about their experience, that was not what I expected necessarily, but really reassuring around the quality of the event.
Chris Zimmerman, your fellow Vermont and alum and fellow letter winner for hockey at Vermont, Jeff Schulman, the chair of the NCAA Hockey Committee, he was in town. What was his impression?
Well, so Jeff's a longtime friend, and we talked from the start. There was a little bit of feedback about, is the building going to be too small? We should be at a bigger site. I think that, I know his impression was excellent. As he said, this is the exact type of environment we want to provide for the regional events. So really good feedback both on Centene, and I think the chance to be around members of the Sports Commission, other key players, that next year when the Frozen Four comes to St. Louis, we've just really advanced his personal comfort and other members of the hockey committee around what St. Louis can do.
I was thinking about next year. I'm sure the groundwork is already starting for preparing for next year. What do you think is one of the biggest lessons that you guys learned from hosting it this year going into next year?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to get with the team on what the biggest lesson was. I think all of these events, whether we're certainly any of the NCAA championships that we, St. Louis, we, Enterprise Center, and to the extent the Blues are involved, I think that recognizing how important this experience is for these college athletes, and the fact that for some of them who have played, their entire life since they were young children, this is a huge deal. Some will get to continue to play at various levels of professional hockey, but for some of those players, this was probably going to be the last major hockey game they played in. And so all the elements of making them feel comfortable, making them feel important, giving them the environment to succeed, really all of those things matter. And I think we've continued to learn how to do that really well.
Now, Chris, one of the interesting things we've learned about next year's Frozen Four is that Vermont is going to be the host school. You mentioned that you're longtime friends with Jeff Schulman. How did this come about that a school 1,100 miles away is going to be the host school here in St. Louis?
So, yes, it seems a little strange, I'm sure. When we were working on the bid, and it was before Lindenwood had made their move to Division I, it's not uncommon. So Tampa, for example, I believe it was Wisconsin, was the host school in Tampa. And so when a city that's bidding doesn't have a Division I program, the tradition has been to find another partner school to come work with you. And as you can imagine, it was probably a little easier for me to find a partner in Burlington, Vermont, than maybe some other college, Division I college programs. So thrilled that Vermont is the host school. I think Jeff would be okay if I said this. The weight of the event is really on, obviously, St. Louis, the St. Louis Sports Commission and the facility. But the school provides some oversight, and, I'm thrilled that the Catamounts are going to be our partner.
And, Chris, one other thing about this weekend, I know that those are 4 schools that you had in with great histories and unbelievable fan bases. But next year, in a significantly bigger building over at Enterprise Center, how much are you counting on St. Louis fans being a part of what next year is in terms of purchasing tickets?
St. Louis fans are going to be a critical part of the success of the event, and I have great confidence that St. Louis fans are going to want to be part of this. When the NCAA Frozen Four came to St. Louis in 2007, quite honestly, the capacity of the building was bigger at that point, and the game sold out. And for some time, and before they went to, I think, Ford Field, St. Louis had the highest attendance ever for the Frozen Four, and a lot of that is definitely going to be both the opportunity for St. Louis fans, Blues fans, to be able to purchase tickets. And I think, obviously, with also the number of top young college, hockey players playing throughout Division I schools in the country, I think our market has advanced. We're a better, bigger hockey market, and so I think it's going to be a fantastic event.
Chris, one more thing, and we have to ask this question because Minnesota and Jimmy Snuggerud got eliminated over the weekend. He's Blues property, and you can sign him. The Blues can, if he's agreeable to it. Where do you stand right now in terms of coming to an agreement with Jimmy Snuggerud?
Well, that's outside of my pay grade a little bit, Randy, but I will tell you, I mean, we've said that we believe Jimmy Snuggerud's going to be a great NHL player, so we're excited about it, and now there's an opportunity, so we'll see what happens there, but among the most exciting prospects, definitely he is one of them, and we can't wait to see him with a blue note on soon.
All right. Thank you, sir. We appreciate that. And congratulations on the success of the tournament. And next year is going to be fabulous, and we'll be talking a lot, I'm sure, as we lead up to that, too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Enjoy more hockey tonight.
Absolutely. Blues and Oilers at 8 o'clock. That's Chris Zimmerman. He is the president of your St. Louis Blues here on 101 ESPN. By the way, Jess Myers, if you haven't seen this on Jeremy Rutherford's X/Twitter feed, Jess Myers from the Rink Live and Inforum says that a reliable source in Missouri tells Jess Myers that the Blues are hoping to get Jimmy Snuggerud signed in the next 24 hours and have the Gopher star in an NHL uniform Thursday in Nashville. So that's what is being reported. And Chris said that hopefully they'll be able to get something at some point with Jimmy Snuggerud.
That could be coming soon. Are you excited about it?
I am, yeah. I don't know that it's the best move for him, but if the Blues want to see him and Doug Armstrong wants to evaluate him at this level for 6 or 7 games, then go for it.
What would be your biggest concern of what could go wrong?
My biggest concern is that he walks into a room with the team that performed the way they did on Saturday night and thinks, oh, this is normal. Because it's not normal. That's not how you win. That effort that the Blues exhibited on Saturday night is as far away as you can get from winning in the NHL.
Yeah.
And I would hate for him to walk in and if you're going to do it, put him in a locker next to Jake Neighbors because you don't want to have him be infected by what is infecting this team right now.
And it can be. It definitely can wear on you and also can get you concerned about the direction maybe of the organization. If that's what you see, you'd be like, man, this is what I'm walking into currently right now.
Yeah. So, and he knows about winning because he's been in the tournament and they played in the championship game last year. So it's just a concern, but they're going to have to turn things over. They're going to have to make a lot of moves, the Blues are, for next year. Okay, coming up next, are you more concerned about the Cardinals pitching or the Cardinals offense after that 1-3 series against the Doyers? Send us your text, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. And we want to hear from you. You can send us a mic drop if you want as well with the 101 ESPN app. Want to hear from you about your Cardinal concerns next on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about my friends at Together Credit Union. You can get your exclusive City SC debit card from Together Credit Union, and it's the only place that you can go to find this official fan debit card is at Together Credit Union with special perks like a free lifetime My City Plus membership, in-stadium discounts on food, beverage, and merchandise, and most exciting, express entry into City SC matches. Together Credit Union, City SC's official banking partner, is offering you a safe and reliable way to grow your hard-earned money. Certificates of deposit are attractive investments for new and experienced investors because the return on your investment is fixed and guaranteed. Right now, Together Credit Union is offering 2 fantastic CD promotions. Your first CD rate option is an 11-month CD term with a 5.40 annual percentage yield. Your second CD rate option is a 19-month CD term with a 5.00 annual percentage yield. Both options require a minimum balance of $1,000. Go to your nearest Together Credit Union branch or visit togethercu.org to learn more. Early withdrawal penalties apply and may reduce earnings on the account. Rate offers are accurate as of January 18th, respectively. Rates are subject to change without notice. Other rates and terms available. Membership eligibility required. Federally insured by the NCUA.
On the opening drive with a rush hour reset.
Cardinals are kind of struggling early on in the season, but it'll get better. It'll get better.
It's just the start of the season, Randy.
Yeah, the Cardinals are Cardinals have an earned run average of 6.09. That's 24th in Major League Baseball out of the 30 teams.
Not great.
Brooke, I'm looking at it this way. They're 24th in runs scored at 3.50 per game. The Cardinals are remarkably consistent. And can we ask for anything else?
We can ask for a lot more, Randy. We really can. we really can. They got out-homered 9-1 in this series. Nolan Arenado went 1 for 16 in this series. Didn't exactly look great. I understand that this is the Dodgers and they're in a league of their own, but the Cardinals looked like they weren't even in the same stratosphere as the Dodgers.
Because of one little thing, because the Cardinals were able to manufacture a run against the Dodgers, and because they have people that have done it in the past. I know Arenado was 1 for 16, and Goldie really didn't do much after that first game when he had 3 hits. But they have people that have done it in the past offensively. Yes, they have people that have done it in the past from a pitching perspective as well. But, man, that bullpen really struggled last night. And, well, the bullpen really struggled. You were behind early in the first 2 games, and things kind of fell apart from there. But I just wonder if this bullpen is going to be able to withstand the pressures that are inherent in dealing with a team like this, where they're going to have to get a lot of outs. Ollie's philosophy clearly hasn't changed in that regard. It's going to be 5 and dive for this starting rotation.
And here's the thing. I do get it's the first game or the first series of the season, but at the same time, I think you have a lot of different things popping up that are of great concern. One, your starting rotation, there is some concerns there when it comes to health, age, all the different kind of stuff. Luckily, Sonny Gray should hopefully be joining the club soon because he's going to be starting in Memphis on Wednesday. So that is a concern that I have. Two, I'm also very concerned about this bullpen and the bullpen usage. I understand that you can't prevent injuries, but how do you, I guess, make an excuse for the usage of the bullpen? I go back to Friday's game. We saw how everything played out on Sunday, but I'm going to go back to Friday's game when you have Giovanni Gallegos coming into the game when the Cardinals are already down 5-0. And then you also use Jojo Romero in that game as well. And then you use them on Saturday, so then you don't have them from Sunday. Oh, by the way, which you already knew, I understand not revealing that prior to the game for tactical reasons about Steven Matz and his 80 pitch cap that he was at, but you knew that. So you knew that going into the series, you knew that going into the weekend, and you also knew that you're going to be shorthanded. Why did you have Giovanni Gallegos coming into the game when you're already down 5-0 on Friday? Because then you know that you're not going to be able to use him on Sunday in a possible situation when you know that Steven Matz has a pitch limit going into that game.
Right, and if you're 5 up, 5 down, against the Dodgers, if you're 5 down, why not use Ryan Fernandez?
They didn't use him the entire series. So I don't understand that.
Get your look at him, because logic would dictate, even though the Cardinals did, I think, send the tying run to the plate in the Friday. No, that was in the Friday night game they did. But logic would dictate that you aren't going to be able to do that against the Dodgers. You aren't going to be able to come back and win. So you might as well find out a little bit about that guy and see if he can pitch at this level and see what he's got. You're not going to use him in high leverage situations. You can't have a lower leverage situation than what the Cardinals were in on Friday night,
and that's what I'm saying. Why would you use Giovanni Gallegos in that? Other than, I think I saw, and was trying to find the tweet, the reasoning I think that Ollie Marmol gave is because they were trying to give him touches early on in this series. Why not? But for me, why not see what you have in Fernandez? That was a perfect situation on Friday for him to come into. And when you already know, as I mentioned, you're handcuffed with Steven Matz, which I have some concerns about that. When we're talking about the starting rotation, I have some concerns about that. What does that mean? What does that look like? He's going into the season with a pitch limit. Will that dissipate? Will we not have to deal with that anymore after this past game, this past weekend? Or is that something that's going to have to be continued to be handcuffed? Because at that point, should he just be in the bullpen, and should you have signed 4 starters?
That will be a process. That will not be an event for him. They're going to go from 81 to 110 pitches for Steven Matz. So I would think that they'll probably go 81 to 90, 90 to 100, and then probably ended at 100. He probably won't throw more than 100 pitches. He'll be like Jordan Montgomery was last year. Cardinal bullpen ERA, by the way, 6.60. That's 23rd in the league. Starters earned run average after 4 games, granted, is 5.68. That's 19th in the league. And we asked you what you're thinking, and we want your texts here on 101 ESPN. And overall, here, let's start with this one. Trevor Bauer? Okay. Trevor Bauer, number one, is still dealing with other legal issues. You are concentrating on one legal issue that he doesn't have anymore. He has multiple other legal issues. And think about it from this perspective, Mr. or Mrs. 618 or Miss. There are 30 teams in Major League Baseball. Mm-hmm. The Yankees lost Garrett Cole. They haven't signed him. The Dodgers could still use him, although their players don't want him. So let's leave the Dodgers out of it. The Cincinnati Reds could use pitcher that is willing to pitch for the minimum. The Pittsburgh Pirates could use a pitcher that would pitch for the minimum. The Chicago Cubs would. The New York Mets lost Kodai Senga. They could use him. Who needs pitching more than the Angels? They haven't signed him. Why do you think it is that 30 major league teams, not just one, not just the Cardinals, 30 major league teams haven't signed Trevor Bauer? Now, let me throw this out there. Major League Baseball and every single Major League Baseball team's security force is former FBI. They know background. They know stuff. If I were to suggest that there's a reason, and this is just pure speculation on my part, not a fact, but I think it's reasonable to think that he has been investigated so much that they may have found something that they don't like about Trevor Bauer.
You think? Maybe.
Just possible.
Just trying to stay away from some of those issues.
Yeah. What other reason would you suggest? It's not because of the quality of his pitching that he would not be signed by any of the 30 teams when he said, I'll pitch for the minimum.
And I think that's the point. That's the point right there in a discussion, is that no other team is also biting on him.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yep. Let's get a couple more. Like last year, bad bullpen management. That's the biggest concern that this texter has from the 618. I think that is completely reasonable. 24th overall sounds about right for this roster. It is 24th in both. It kind of is. That's sad.
It really is. Well, and don't you feel like, too, your starting pitching going in, what do you think that they would rank or would need to be considered successful for this season to work out?
With this offense as it is, they were 19th in runs scored last year and didn't add an established bat. So I would say that you would probably need a top 12 or 13 starting rotation, but then your bullpen's going to have to be better too.
Don't you think that the process is that the offense would need to be top 10 for all of this to actually work out to the plan that they're hoping to?
Yeah, I would think so.
Where you'd have innings eaters, and then you were hoping your bullpen would be able to be healthy. And I'm not going to discount that. When we're talking about bullpen usage, that's why I pointed out specifically Friday. I do understand that injuries are a big issue. Keenan Middleton being out, who knows what's going to happen with that? I'm sure that there's somewhat of a timeline, but still, forearm strain. Anytime you hear that, Randy, what is your first thought?
Tommy John.
Exactly. And then you have Riley O'Brien, who was just put on the injured list with a flexor tendon strain, and so you just don't know exactly what that timetable will be. And that's why I suggested earlier, maybe do you go out and get another bullpen arm for this team, because you don't have many options. I guess you should have to see what you have with Nick Robertson, and the reason they probably didn't bring him up on Sunday, if I had to guess, is because you're down two lefties, because they're not going to use Libby or Romero because of the days before, which I wish we could go back in time, Randy, and have guys pitch multiple innings in multiple days, but that's just not the case. They weren't available, and you have a lefty-heavy lineup with the Dodgers, and so that's why they brought up John King instead of Robertson. But I would say you need to go figure out what you have in Robertson. Oh, and Fernandez, by the way.
This one from the 314, and it's so spot on. What's really scary is I think it could have looked even worse. They were very fortunate to get out of Saturday night with the bases loaded in extra innings, and they did. So it is what it is. But, yeah, it could have looked even worse than it did, being 1-3. And the games, while not competitive early, they did actually wind up scoring some runs on Friday, and last night was a competitive game for them until, well, it was 4-1. They were up 4-1, and they let it get away. So it definitely could have looked a lot worse than it was.
From the 615, maybe I joined the conversation late. We play the Dodgers, a possible 110-win team behemoth. Maybe we should split. We could have split this series, excuse me. And that is a fair, if you want to look at the brighter side of things, that is one way to look at it. You also had a 4-0 lead going in Sunday and a possible chance of splitting the series. But then the bullpen is what imploded. And I think that there is cause for concern because we've seen this story before, a la last season, where they got off to a bad start. And it it felt like some of that just bubbled back to the surface in just this series, this first series of the season.
And that's just on paper, you should lose to the Dodgers more often than not. But then if you just break down the fact that, fine, take away the fact that they got just absolutely rolled the first two games, there's opportunities where two of your four leading hitters in Nolan Gorman and Nolan Arenado could have won you a second game and led to a split, and yet the bats weren't ever there. And it wasn't just that's the vacuum of when their hits would have counted. Obviously, the fact that Gorman and Arenado aren't picking up hits while you're getting rolled 7-1, it also adds to the fact that their opening season average is pretty bad. But I mean, there are situations where you could have split in that fourth game if you just get more offense, and that's why I think the question's out there.
And one other note, by the way. The Cardinals last year, their biggest bugaboo was falling behind early in the first or second inning, and that's what happened to both Michaelis and Zach Thompson. The Cardinals are not in a position where they're going to be coming back from 5 down, so you need your starting pitching, Brooke, as you said, to be really efficient early on.
And Lance Lynn could have gone longer into the game, deeper into the game, but you had the rain delay. He looked good, so that is a positive. Steven Matz looked good yesterday, and I know a lot of people are questioning why he was pulled after that. Why is he held to a certain pitch count? It seems to be because they believe that by kind of easing him in, because he was also behind, remember, in spring training, they had kind of a slow progression for him into spring training. So that's why he was on that pitch count that we didn't know about until after the game.
Cardinals will be home on Thursday on 101 ESPN. 101 ESPN. I've said that before. We'll be broadcasting live from the Budweiser Brewhouse at Ballpark Village. The home opener is almost here. We're going to be set up just steps away from Busch Stadium on Thursday with the opening drive, BK and Ferrario, and the Fast Lane, all coming to you live on Thursday from Ballpark Village. Our opening day broadcast is brought to you by Holiday World and Splash and Safari, and by Budweiser. Coming up next, how disappointing was the City loss to Real Salt Lake? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN. Hey, I want you to know about Gloria Lou. If you're in the market to sell your home, then Gloria Lou is the person that you need to call. She's the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and she has the experience and the staff and the talent and the ability to sell your home for the highest price and in the fastest amount of time. Gloria's name is her promise and says it all. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria's mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame or she'll buy it herself. That's guaranteed. Does your agent compare? Gloria has solutions for every kind of home seller. If you want a fast sale with no hassles, Gloria's 24-hour cash offer solution is a great option to consider. No showings, no costly repairs, and you pick the closing date. You always get the highest cash offer bid from Gloria's database of buyers and what she calls her cash offer bid box. It's Gloria Lou at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888. If you're considering selling your home, get in touch with Gloria Lou. You can do it on the web as well. GloriaHasTheBuyers.com. St. Louis City SC grabbed the lead against Real Salt Lake on Saturday night, but they couldn't hang on. Allowed 3 consecutive tallies and fell apart down the stretch. They even allowed a goal after the game was over, apparently.
Randy,
well,
no.
They did. Isn't the game 90 minutes long?
90 plus 1. It's 90 plus 1.
So 3-1 was the final, and it is the first loss of the season for St. Louis City SC.
Boo.
Yeah, you don't like to have losses, especially in a weekend like this where everybody else is losing too.
Yeah, you need at least one team.
We need a little bit of sunshine.
At least
and
one
lollipops.
team. I guess because on that Saturday you did have the Cardinals win their first game of the season, so maybe that's the give and take here. But can we have everybody working together at the same time? Better together.
Yeah. Let's do that. That's a great idea.
I know. We're probably going to get some texts. I know not everybody likes better together, so sorry.
No. But it was disappointing, A, because they had the lead, and B, because things did just kind of get away from them, it seemed like, after they allowed that first goal.
It really did. And it seems like the defense just really fell apart. What did you notice from that, Rob?
I thought the Totland sub was weird. I mean, you're winning 1-0 with Totland in the game. You sub him out in the 68th, 67th minute, one of the two. And then the Arango waterfall begins in the 70th minute. I thought that was a weird move. But again, the guys played a lot of minutes, and City's conscious even from the very get-go about minutes accumulation. You know, it wasn't necessarily like a run of games or like having to play like 3 games in 8 days over and over again that hurt Leuven last year. It was like, well, he's got over 2,000 minutes, and you know that accumulation across the season. So maybe that's what they're thinking about with Tolland, and you're thinking, well, we're up 1-0. You know, we haven't gotten really dominated yet in possession. You know, we got Parker on the backside, so let's cover it there. The issue there is that you then put out Kyle Hebert, who's playing a little bit out of, and then now one of your fullbacks playing out of positions, and that's been kind of weird to me. One of their worst games against Houston, they played Akil Watts at left back when he has either been a center midi or a right back for you your entire time with him. So I thought playing one of your fullbacks out of position was a weird move. That's the one thing I question. I know there's going to be a lot of different variables that Carnell and his coaching staff are breaking down to make that move. But I mean, I think it's pretty clear. You take Tolland out, Arango starts scoring on you. And then there was the fact that Arango probably got away with a foul against Tolland early in the game, and then he's the guy who scores the 3 goals. That's not what you want to see from an officiating side.
That being said, you're on a road pitch. You haven't lost a match yet this year, and you had the lead. So I don't think that this is alarming by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a matter of, and by the way, you also, Klaus went down. I don't know. He didn't seem the same either after his injury. So I wonder if maybe we tend to overreact because they lose so infrequently. I wonder if we have a tendency to overreact to losses by a city.
Yeah, I think we do. I think they've been good, and last year they had that stretch that obviously kind of slowed them down going into the playoffs a little bit. But again, you're picking up points for the most part away. You're winning games for the most part at home. You have to think, I think, much like the Blues, the Cardinals, you got to kind of figure out a couple little kinks with both the offense and the defense. Mm-hmm. But I think the talent's there. I think they did a better job of getting the ball to Klaus and even Adeniran when he came in later in the game. They did a better job of getting them the ball in the opponent's penalty box, which has been an issue with them, right? Up until this game, really, Pompeu was the only one who was doing dangerous things consistently against the other team in dangerous spots. And so you got Klaus and Adeniran more involved than usual. It's just the backside falls apart. And the other disappointing part about the backside falling apart is not only did you have Parker back, but you had, for the first time since they traded for Durkin, you had him and Bloom in the same center midfield. Thought process there is, well, we don't have an Ostrak, we don't have a Leuven who's going to get forward offensively. We should be a pretty good defensive team with this lineup, and that's when things fall apart. But I just think you just have to circle the subbing of Totland as to where things kind of start to crack a little bit.
From the 618, I'm worried about the defense and midfield without Leuven.
Again, I don't think ball progression was the issue in that game, and that's what Leuven helps you with more often than not. He's a good player, but he's not changing the defense, and they scored early, so it wasn't a factor where it was like the ball progression wasn't enough and they were getting eaten up in the midfield, and they were just able, they just got dominated in that way. And there wasn't a situation, I thought, as much with the LA Galaxy where there was a clear situation of like Paintsill just destroying you down your left side over and over again. There weren't those kind of consistent just holes on the team. And so Leuven not being there is affecting them, but I don't think it's what affected them to lose that game. That was a defensive collapse late in the game.
But that being said, he is kind of the fulcrum of what they do, right?
Yeah, and I guess it could be a little different if City at any point shows, even with a lead, that they are good at playing in possession. But even with Leuven and him being a great passer, they're not really great in possession. When they're leading 1-0, even necessarily, they don't really park the bus necessarily when they do take a lead. For them, they do, because they stop going absolutely freaking haywire in the press as much. But I think maybe Leuven helps you control the game more. But I just didn't feel like it was control that was really what got to City. You want your best player back. But the bottom line is, I think what we're more seeing is that if you're going to play the offensive style you have with what your fullbacks do, you probably can't consistently win unless Parker and Nielsen are both playing.
Next Saturday, Dallas is in town at City Park. 7:30 tilt over at City Park for St. Louis City, SC, and Dallas. Next Saturday is going to be crazy here in St. Louis, isn't it? It's going to be fun and crazy.
It will be. I'll be very excited for that.
So you've got the Battlehawks in town at 7 o'clock. You've got your St. Louis Blues are on the road in Vancouver. And what are our Redbirds doing that day? They're here, we know. But is it a day game or a night game?
I think it's a day game on Saturday. Are you talking about Saturday specifically?
Yeah, Saturday. Yep.
So you're talking about this coming Saturday, correct?
This coming Saturday.
1:15, first pitch.
Okay, so
against
perfect.
the Marlins.
Yeah, spend your day downtown. Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Go hang out.
Yep, 1:15
games.
Hall of Fame Car Parade bobblehead.
Ooh.
And then go grab something to eat and then go to the Battlehawks or St. Louis City SC. And while you're grabbing something to eat, by the way, the Blues start at 5. So you can sit at a restaurant and watch that baby on TV. Make it a big St. Louis sports day.
I like the plan here, Randy. That sounds like a fun weekend.
Right off the top of my head, too. I didn't think about it at all. I didn't have to plan. Just thought about it.
It's just right there.
Yeah. Here's another plan. How about this? Go to the Cardinal game.
Yes.
Then go over and tailgate before either City or Battlehawks.
Oh.
And then go in.
Somebody said Marsh is planning to go to all 3 games in a row.
That'll go, Marshy.
That is a long day.
I love that. That'll be fun.
I want to do that.
It'll be a good time.
It's a lot of work, though.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm getting too old for that, Randy.
Yeah,
I'm getting too old.
Yeah, you're not. I am. Coming up, the NCAA basketball women's tournament continues tonight. But how great have these tournaments been? That's coming your way on 101 ESPN. This is a great time of year to start thinking about an outdoor project from my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They do a fantastic job with fences and decks, sunrooms, screen rooms, pergolas, and whatever you want done, they're going to do magnificent work. They're A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau. And Chesterfield Fence and Deck has been here in St. Louis for 56 years, family-owned and operated. And when you're in business that long, that means you're doing things right. At Chesterfield Fence and Deck, they provide the best and longest-lasting outdoor products available with skilled installation teams who carry out their mission to be the very best in customer service and quality craftsmanship. When you get in touch with Chesterfield Fence and Deck, and you can do so at 800-300-4054 or on the web at chesterfieldfence.com, they'll come out to your house and provide you a free, no-obligation project design. They'll take measurements, show you their product offerings, plus an extensive digital photo gallery of completed projects, and the work they do is amazing. Check out their new deck color. Their Vecca vinyl deck is amazing, and the new color is pewter, a gorgeous gray that has beautiful variation throughout for a more natural look. If you're interested in an outdoor project, it's Chesterfield Fence at chesterfieldfence.com. Chesterfield Fence and Deck, the sign. You have the very best.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Over the weekend, the Cardinals take just one of four from the Dodgers to open up their 2024 season. They'll have a three-game series starting against the Padres tonight. It's an 8:40 first pitch with them playing in San Diego. Also tonight, a later game for your St. Louis Blues as they host the Oilers. You can catch the game right here on 101 ESPN, starting with a pregame show at 7. Also over the weekend, St. Louis City SC lost their first game of the season with a 3-1 loss to Real Salt Lake. That is your Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
NCAA tournament games, men's and women's. Tonight's will probably be the most anticipated. LSU taking on Iowa in the regional final for the women's tournament, and is going to be huge. It's going to be awesome, and I can't wait to see it. It's tonight, and it will be played at 6 o'clock on ESPN, and I'm rooting for Caitlin Clark.
Really?
I am.
Why is that?
Because I think she's great for the sport and great for sports in general.
By the way, that's the answer to a female athlete who people like that talks a lot of trash.
That's true.
She complains. Okay. I mean, she complains so much her dad tells her, stop complaining. during games.
I mean, it did look like she got punched in the face in that one moment.
But I'm just saying, is like she does talk a lot of trash. That she was that was the other side of the debate in the Angel Reese thing last year. So I think Caitlin Clark might be one of the more like trash talking female athlete that's a lot of people still like.
One of the things about the early part of this tournament was that there really weren't Cinderellas. But here we get to the Final Four, and we've got a Cinderella in 11th ranked NC State.
Oh, yes. I'm all about this, Randy. The first time they reached the Final Four since 1983.
Amazing.
And you have the star in DJ Burns. All I have to say is that big man basketball is back in college basketball. He is just such an exciting player to see. He just has like an infectious attitude, the way that he just goes out there. I think it was 29 points, correct? That he had. I just like to watch him play. And now you have that story where they were able to break a lot of brackets, I assume, because I even had, I believe, Duke moving on in this contest or in this tournament. And now that's not happening. But I don't really feel that bad about it, Randy, because I've been wanting this. I've been wanting somewhat of a Cinderella story, a story where you have the underdog to root for. And now I have it with NC State.
And here's the thing with NC State, because I'm rooting for them too. But it seems like the one guy in college basketball is Zach Edey at Purdue, right? And UConn has 4, maybe 5 NBA players. UConn looks totally unstoppable. So it just has the feel that it's going to be UConn and Purdue, which probably means that it's going to be NC State and Alabama.
It will be. That's what, yeah, basically. Zach Edey, I find, as another intriguing figure. I don't necessarily see them as an underdog because I know that there was some talk like, is he an underdog? Is his story being an underdog? How can you be an underdog when you're that tall and you come from IMG Academy?
Right. But
not as much.
When's the last time we've seen a great 4-year college basketball player? It's been
that's true.
A men's college basketball player. So I like the fact that he stayed around. He's going to be back-to-back player of the year. It's a pretty good story in Purdue. And then the fact that they got knocked out in the first round last year and then they're coming back and have, kind of like UVA did 5 years ago, have a chance to come back and win it this year.
So now, who are you rooting for the most, though? Is it NC State? Is that the team that you're rooting for in this men's tournament?
Yeah, it is, just because they're the underdog. How about you?
That's what I want to. I don't want UConn to win it all. I really don't, because then it seems so obvious from the start that it was going to be UConn versus everybody, and so far it has been leading up to this point. I don't want that to happen. That's too easy of a story.
They deserve it, though. They have been so good, and even though I had Illinois winning, and Carrie is from Illinois, Michelle went to Illinois, so I wanted Illinois to win. But man, that performance was just amazing, and one of the great things about sports is that you can see it's not the competition. Sometimes, like we saw it here with the greatest show on turf. It happened with the Bulls. It happened with the Warriors a few years ago when they won 73 games. Sometimes I just like seeing the performance, the excellence, and that's what UConn is giving us right now.
They are an excellent team. It really feels like the Dodgers almost. When we were talking about the Dodgers and Cardinals, it's like a team that's just on a completely different level than everybody else at this point. And I know that we posed this question earlier during Take It or Leave It, but what would you rather be situation-wise? Would you just rather basically Illinois not make the tournament or lose in the fashion that they did?
Oh, man, you're playing in the Elite Eight. You're 40 minutes away from going to the Final Four. You take that. You always take that.
I would 100% take that.
Yeah.
And I know that they were down. It was like a 30-0 run, right? At one point.
That's the other thing you say is, man, if it wasn't for that 30-0 run, we win the game.
You just got to get rid of that. And then it's a totally different story, isn't it? It's not as bad. But basically the way I look at it is, would you rather be Mizzou or Illinois in this situation? Would you rather be Mizzou where you don't make the tournament? Or would you rather be Illinois where you make the Elite Eight?
I'd rather be Illinois.
Imagine if they didn't make the tournament at all this year, then the question would be, when are they firing Brad Underwood?
That is exactly what it would be. And now he can go out and get some more guys, and they can really get their, if there is such a thing as a program now in college basketball, they can start building their program. By the way, with UConn, they have so many good players. Who do you think their best player is? Is it Newton? Newton's really good.
That's the depth that they have.
I think it's Klingon after what we saw against Illinois, because they went like 0-18 when they were trying to directly challenge him at the rim. And again, when you look at the big man game, he just ate up Coleman Hawkins. And that was Illinois' problem, always going up against a big man. And so I think not only, I don't know if he's the best player, but I think you think about it, a logical Purdue matchup, most important player, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that he's in the Purdue matchup. He'll be their most important, but they're just loaded. They have so many good players, and the one thing about them is with the Purdue, yes, they do have to try to stop Edey if they get to that point. But I don't know how Purdue defends all of their athletes.
No, because they have so much depth. That's the big question is, how do you pick just one player, basically, that is the star? Because you had so many different B stars in different nights, different games.
Right. And then the other part of it is if it's not Purdue, if it is NC State, you've really essentially got one guy to stop, don't you? Mm-hmm. And if you can stop Burns, then you're going to be fine. But I really have liked this tournament. There haven't been, we haven't had a moment in this tournament where, but it's been more fun than I thought it was going to be.
It's been a little bit more fun. I think that now that you have NC State moving on, now I'm a little bit more bought into it because it's a different story. I like DJ Burns. As I mentioned, he seems like such a fun personality. Could you also see, I saw a report this morning that maybe even some NFL teams would be interested. Could you see him being an NFL player?
Totally. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. Absolutely. He could be a tight end. And man, he's made some catches in this tournament, too. He's got great hands.
Albert Breer was tweeting out about DJ Burns and why can't he said left tackle.
You see it all.
He said left tackle.
I could see him being because of his size.
Well, yeah, because he listed Burns at 6'9", 275, and the entire replies were, "There ain't no way, big boy's 275, my man." That's a solid 3-tipper right there. And so people were like, left tackle maybe, but somebody's like, man, make the kid lose 50 pounds and start him off as a blocking tight end and see if he can grow from George Kittle was just a blocker at Iowa.
Jimmy Graham was a basketball player, and he had great hands. They let him go. Same thing with Antonio Gates.
I remember Hassan French. He tried out for the Titans, I think, and some other NFL teams a couple of times.
And to that point, to Albert Breer's point, I think it's much more realistic to put DJ Burns on a workout program, have him lose 50 pounds, and have him learn tight end, than have the man learn how to do a kick slide at 20 years old. Like, you're not learning how to do a kick slide and learn how to hand fight pass rushers at 20 years old, and you've never played that level of football. Like, you're not becoming a left tackle.
You don't have Jim Hannafin coaching
the
these
amount
guys.
of technique you have to teach a guy. I mean, Greg Robinson played like 8 years of competitive football before he graduated Auburn, and he didn't even know how to kick slide. He was playing football.
Then he got to the NFL and he quit playing competitive football anymore.
If you do Google DJ Burns' weight, it comes up as 275.
No way.
Yeah. So the NIT semifinals, by the way, tomorrow night here on 101 ESPN, and that might be the last game for Josh Schertz over at Indiana State. Mm-hmm. So maybe this week St. Louis U finally gets their new head coach. Guys, I'm going to head out. I have a doctor's appointment, so I have to leave early. So we're going to let you two handle rock and roll. Can I count on you guys to maintain our broadcast license if I'm not here?
We'll try.
Okay.
I thought you were
we'll
going to
try
say,
our best.
You were going to say like the high level of the show today. I was like, Randy,
no, don't worry about that.
Okay. No. We'll just keep the license going.
Sounds good. All right. And then I will see you kids tomorrow morning.
All right. See you tomorrow, Randy.
We've got rock and roll coming up next on 101 ESPN. Hey, there's great things happening at Schnucks, and they know that everyone is looking for ways to save more money. Well, here's what you need to do. If you are interested in saving money, they're having another big 3-day sale with red-hot deals. The Schnucks Deals and Steals 3-day sale this week. When you go to Schnucks Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you'll get big-time money off. Deals you won't believe and steals that you'll think you're getting away with something, which means these aren't sales that you see every week. They're special sales with major money-off items you love. Check some of these out. You can check out Smithfield Bacon, a 12-ounce package for just $2.79, limit 3 per customer. Avocados are just 59 cents Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Schnucks. General Mills cereals, Nature Valley granola bars, oatmeal squares, or Fiber One bars, just $1.99, limit 6 per customer at Schnucks. So many ways to save money. Plus, you get 2% back on Schnucks Rewards. You can find hundreds of exclusive digital coupons in the app. Now, you can turbocharge those savings with steals and deals this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at Schnucks.
Welcome back to the opening drive, and it is time for Rock and Roll. And no April Fools here. You were left with just Rock and I here at the end, but it's not that bad.
Randy got really mad about that question. Sorry, guys.
It's not that bad. And we're not fooling anybody here.
Yeah, I actually wanted him to talk about Juju Watkins and the USC team in this segment, and he stormed off in a rage. He said,
That's
"No,
what happened.
I refuse."
Blackout rage Randy came back. He was also still upset about the WNBA question for the fight today. So that was another part of it. We just made him really angry, so he wanted to leave. What do we have for Rock and Roll, Rock?
Well, we just talked about all the magic, the wonder, just the beauty of these NCAA tournaments, and now I'm going to make fun of some stuff. Here's Zach Edey after their big win over the weekend.
I get to pay him back. Like there was so many coaches that looked over me. Like you could name a program, I can name a coach that looked over me.
How?
The Tennessee, Rick Barnes is a great coach, but he was in a bunch of our practice, looked over me. Like it's kind of been the story of my life. People have doubted me. People look past me and can't do that anymor's
How was anybody looking past him? He's 7'4", and he comes out of IMG Academy. They literally can't look past you, Zachary.
That's what I'm saying is, I don't know if you can exactly be a underdog story when you are 7'4", tailor-made, I would say specifically for basketball. I think that if you are that height, you either have to do volleyball or basketball. That is your two options at that height. And then you also were in IMG Academy, what is IMG Academy known for?
It churns out people. And I understand that technically, I guess Rivals, he was a 3-star, but you're also 7'4". Like, no one was overlooking you. You went to Purdue, which yes hasn't been great, but it's not like they're ever the bottom feeders of the Big Ten. They're known pretty consistently in Big Ten basketball as being a pretty solid program. I honestly can't believe that he said that. It's
but
wild
also,
to me.
I get the other side of it. Hey, whatever motivates you, whatever works. And he didn't go to Tennessee. Rick Barnes did essentially. I would say look up to him, but not in the way that you would think.
Yeah, I looked over him. Yeah. Apparently, not in the way you'd think in any way, shape, or form. The other thing that I have to mention is, did you see the little bit of the scandal that came out of the women's Final Four?
Oh, I didn't know where you were going with scandal at first, because there was quite a few scandals this weekend.
We'll mention that here at the end.
Okay.
I'm just talking about how there was a misdrawn three-point line for one of the games for the women's Final Four.
No, I didn't see
There was a misdrawn three-point line. They were not the same three-point line.
Oh, wait, I did see a video of this
And here's
weekend.
the thing, here's what people have figured out. How it actually got figured out is that a fan sitting in the 300s knew somebody who worked at the stadium and was working the game and was near the floor. So he texted that person and said, find a way to let the refs know that the three-point line's off. That person then was able to find somebody who then let the refs know the three-point line was off, and they were able to get it figured out, luckily, before there was too many repercussions. But I think this is one reason why I think there's some people out there who complain about women's college sports and the coverage they get, because they can't even apparently draw the court right for one of the biggest games of their season.
How does that even happen?
I have no idea. It's also not the first time it happened. It did happen in a men's game earlier this season. It wasn't a tournament game, which you think
don't
would
think
have.
somebody did that on purpose?
No, I think somebody just screwed it up. That's my biggest thing. Is that? But my point again is that how does that happen? This is kind of like when the women's United States women's national team was complaining that they were having to play on turf, whereas for United States men's national team soccer games, stadiums bent over backwards to make sure that there was grass for those games because the men's team has to play on grass. It's a similar thing where I don't know how it's slipping through the cracks. Again, so many great stories, but I'm not going to let the dumb ones slip through because that's ridiculous.
That's insane.
Speaking of some dumb stuff and being ridiculous,
oh no,
we have to talk about the reports that are out there. Brooke, do you want to update everybody about all those St. Louis Chiefs fans about their wide receiver?
The St. Louis Chiefs fans. Look, I'm upset about this too because for my fantasy football team last year, Rashee Rice was a bright, young, budding star. And I think that a lot of people were hoping that would be the same. But then this weekend, if you haven't seen, it's all over social media. I don't know how you would miss this, but Rashee Rice is on the run currently after getting in a car crash. So apparently he was racing in his Corvette with somebody else who was in a Lamborghini, and they got into a car crash. Luckily, nobody was seriously injured. But now nobody knows where Rashee Rice is. And I don't really know what to make of this because I feel like it's just better to come forward at this point rather than be on the run and missing. And there's also video of him leaving the scene, which is obviously not good.
Yeah, that's 2 felonies right there, isn't it?
Multiple?
Yeah, that's multiple. That's multiple potential felonies right there.
So the big question is, will he or will he not play this season?
Well,
probably not.
The Lions had a cornerback who recently got arrested, and there was a false report that he was running from police. That ended up not being true. They were trying to find him. They did eventually find him. He was released pretty quickly, not of the same stature. I have to imagine that if this is all true, and obviously just alleged right now, there are some pictures out there from TMZ, but still just alleged. If this is all true, if he was racing, did get in a car accident, left the scene, if just those things are true, and even if any of the other ancillary things that have been reported around this story aren't true, I mean, I imagine at least an 8-game suspension. Leaving the scene of a serious traffic accident is at least 6 to 8 games, I think.
That doesn't even feel like enough. I mean, you can't just leave. That's the thing is, how do you talk your way out of it? Is that you can't leave the scene of a crash like that. Luckily, I mean, what if somebody did get seriously injured? And then two, he's been on the run. It happened Saturday, I believe, right?
Yeah.
It happened Saturday, and nobody's heard from you since then. That's a giant concern in itself. That feels like you're making it even worse at that point.
Yeah, and Pro Football Talk did have a report that he has retained counsel. So that's obviously when you get the lawyer, obviously. So I mean, Didn't
he know that I was going to use him again for fantasy football this year? Come on, he's letting me down. All of us Rasheed Rice fantasy owners.
Street racing, hit and run, leaving the scene of an accident. That's got to be at least 2 out of 3 right there. So not a great start for the Chiefs, or I guess end for the Chiefs offseason, considering the entire conversation was whether or not they'd have enough offensive weapons for Patrick Mahomes and everyone to
just when you thought
just keep building, or now offset the fact that their defense isn't going to be as high octane as it was last year with the loss of L'Jarius Sneed, and maybe now they really need to spend some of those extra draft picks on wide receivers. And that's the other thing with the Chiefs is you want to get this, you got to figure out what's going on now, because you got to figure out when you're going to have him. And how much actual capital you may have to put in that position now.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of things that you have to work through. Somebody said, forget suspension, that's jail time. I don't know how you don't work past that.
I mean,
money? I don't know.
I was going to say, I think we've seen a lot of NFL players get charged with things, not serve jail time, get suspended by the NFL. I think we've seen that a couple times. I was just shocked when I had to double check. I was just shocked that Rasheed Rice didn't go to Georgia. That was the thing that I was like, wait a second, did he go to? I had to double check it because that was the one thing. Have you not seen what happens every time a Georgia player drives a car?
Oh, come on. That's so bad.
I'm just saying.
That's
my first thought process was, wait, did he go to Georgia? He went to SMU.
No.
Nothing against SMU and how their athletes drive,
obviously. Don't bring the SEC into this.
I'm sorry, but if a football players do something reckless in a car, I'm gonna make a Georgia joke. Or a comment.
No.
Every time to say it, because they're acting like idiots.
No. Well, that's rock. Thank you for rock and roll, by the way.
Hey, thank you for just people putting out some ridiculous stuff. Tighten it up, everybody.
Tighten it up.
Make rock and roll harder. Make it more difficult. Make me have to get on here and break down why, in fact, the Cardinals had Ryan Helsley available for the 9th, but not the 8th.
I said that earlier. I really don't understand. I know we have to get out here in a second, but the biggest thing is you could work backwards in that situation. Okay, I understand bringing up John King, but why not use Ryan Helsley in the 8th in a high leverage situation?
Because he's your closer, and your thought process is we use him when we're leading in the 9th.
No, well,
that he's your closer, and that's when you want to use him. I mean, if we're complaining about him being the closer and not getting multiple days use, I don't know. Read Katie Wu's piece on The Athletic. It broke down in a fantastic way.
And the Cardinals are back in action tonight. 8:40 is first pitch. Normal baseball times for that. Facing Mike Schilt and the Padres, a very familiar name there. Thank you today for everybody tuning in. Thank you, Rock, for everything with rock and roll.
Pleasure.
And thank you all for listening. We have the balloon party with T-Mac, right? They're in today.
Yep.
Just always have to double check. They're coming up next.
That's right.